What is up, Buttercups? What's going on? It's Grease the Godfather here with RebelDaze 7 to 2 sessions. Hope you guys are having a great one today. Hump day. Love it. Gonna have pretty fun and exciting sessions with our special guest, DJ Suave. We're gonna be talking today about the roots of Hard House. The roots of Hard House. So, super excited for that. I can't wait. Hope you guys are having a great week already. Jose Too Hype, what's going on? Welcome to Sessions. Just warming up here. DJ Clooney, what's up, brother? Long time. Hope all is well, my friend. Yes, let's get it going. I am intrigued too, Jose. I am very intrigued about this research that DJ Suave has gotten ready to do. I have no idea. Rip Purex, what's up, brother? I have no idea where our good friend DJ Suave is going to take us today. John the RT, what's going on? Thank you for joining us. I am very excited about it because I really don't know where DJ Suave is going to take us tonight. Cheers, rum in the cup. Let's see where our good friend Yo. Let's see where our good friend DJ Suave's at. Just waiting for him to jump on. But yeah, man, it's I'm excited. He hit me up a while ago, and he said he wanted to talk about Hard House, and he was doing. He had me connect him with a couple of legends to get it. Rick Purex, I'm curious to see what a non-Hard House DJ will share with us. There's DJ Suave just joined the line. Let's send him an invite and get him going in here. The states that are the Johnny Lopez, what's going on?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. That beautiful voice. What's up, man? What's going on, brother?
What's going on?
I'm intrigued. There's a lot of people intrigued.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I'm sure they are.
Wait a little bit and
yeah.
And
just wait about a minute or so and see what else pops up. But hold on here. No. What the hell?
Don't be losing all your notes, bro. I know it's been a month, 2 months since you came up with this idea, bro. You've been digging hard.
Well, this idea wasn't even an idea. I mean, you know me. Why would I talk about Hard House? You know what I mean?
That's why a lot of people that know you are intrigued. I'm intrigued,
right.
But sometimes the ones that don't like it are the ones that are gonna dig hard because they're not biased towards it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So maybe we'll get the real deal. Christina Dub, what's going on? Thanks for joining.
Why would I talk about Hard House? You know what I mean?
That's why a lot of people that know you are intrigued.
Okay. I have a little delay here, but okay. So, well, you have an idea of what's going on, okay?
Yeah. I mean, but I didn't want to. We talked a little bit about it, but I didn't want to get too much info. You know how I am, dude. I like to be, as excited and as surprised as everybody else on here. So I never do. What's going on, Steve Mills? I never want to learn too much about anybody I'm talking about because I want to be surprised too and intrigued. You know what I mean? So I have no idea. All I know is the roots of Hard House, and he gave me a call and needed some numbers from some legends that we know, and he was digging
get into
deep.
That.
Oh yeah. He was digging deep.
Yeah.
Real quick, while we were waiting.
Yeah.
What intrigued you? Like, people that don't know you, this guy is not.
We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that.
Tony B, what's going on?
Yeah.
Tony B is pulling an all-nighter. Yeah, Tony just jumped on. He's gonna be pulling an all-nighter. He let me know he was gonna be on, man. He's like, I don't want to miss this. So you got Tony B intrigued, man.
So yeah. So I'm like, no Purex. Was that Purex? Yeah. This is not gonna be the DJ Suave top 10 hard house of all time. No. we're not gonna discuss that. So yeah, just hang on tight, guys. We're just gonna wait for a few more people to get on, and then get into it.
I'm actually a little like worried because you're doing hard house. What's next, reggaeton? Because I ain't gonna do that, dog. I'm not gonna try to find the roots of reggaeton, dog. DJ Brian B, what's going on, brother? I am not gonna be doing reggaeton here, dog.
And you know what? I had that discussion with a friend of mine about maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Where did reggaeton come from? Where are the roots of reggaeton? And I pretty much said, you know what? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure the roots of reggaeton lie somewhere in the world of El General.
I was gonna say that. Yes, I agree.
Somewhere in that world,
Catwoman,
somewhere in that scene,
too. What's up?
That's where it rooted from. That's my guess, but yeah, that could be another topic for another session.
Crazy, man, crazy.
Yeah,
well, I mean, we'll give it one more minute, 8:08, and then we'll get going.
Yeah, we'll give it a few more. I know there's a basketball game going on. I completely forgot about that. The playoffs. So it's not baseball, so I don't know how many people are really sucked in on that. The Lakers are out of it anyway. So, but
I pulled out of sports like a couple years ago, man. I used to listen to sports all the time, and now I'm just like so focused on this, dude. It's like I'm a Raider fan, I'm a White Sox fan. I'm like, what's going on? Who did they draft? I don't know. Started in Miami in 2005-ish. Johnny Loops.
So yeah. So there you go.
All right. Let's get going, bro. 8:08. Let's start it. What do we got?
Start the intro of the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another exciting episode of Sessions. I'm your host, Grease the Godfather, and today's special guest, DJ, you know him very well, DJ Suave in the building.
I'm waiting for the clap. Where's the clap effect?
Oh, there's the claps right there, bro. These are the good claps, not the other claps. You 90s.
Nice.
All right, man. I'm intrigued. Everybody's intrigued. The roots of Hard House. A little disclaimer. I have no idea what DJ Suave did. He kept me in the dark. I like to be there. Yeah, and then we're all going to find out together what he's come up with. So take it away, DJ Suave.
All right. This session is going to be real quick. Okay. I think what I have to say is not a lot. I would say maybe in less than 30 minutes, we'll be done with what I need to say and what I come up with and the whole thing. So why is DJ Suave talking about Hard House? Why does Suave want to talk about Hard House? Well, I mean, everybody knows I hate that shit. Okay. I want nothing to do with it.
Jesus Christ.
I had nothing to do with it, but it, and there's a reason why I'm talking about this. Okay. And we're going to get into that very, very quickly. But what caught my interest, it caught my interest. Something happened a few weeks ago that caught my interest in where did this Hard House come from. Now, pretty much, I think everybody more or less understands that Hard House, just like house music, came from Chicago. Okay. But I wanted to go deeper than that. What I really wanted to know, what were the influences, the inspiration for the guys in Chicago and for the guys in LA to make Hard House. Now, before I go any further, two things. When I say Hard House, okay, unless I specify otherwise, when I say Hard House, we're talking about that LA, Chicago, underground construction, Mark V and Poogie Bear and all that shit, that Hard House. That's what I'm talking about. Okay? That's number one. Number two, I am not the authority of anything, especially Hard House. Everything that I'm saying right now is just something that practically landed on my lap, jumped on my face, and just made me ask questions and got my curiosity. Okay. This is more of me kind of asking questions and what I came up with. Okay. So what I say here is not, this is Suave, this is what it is, and that's how it is. No. This is something that I just came across. I asked Grease to give me some phone numbers of some people from Chicago. I asked questions, and basically I put the pieces together, the pieces that I had, the pieces that I saw, to come up with a conclusion that I came up with. And this is just my own conclusion. I'm not trying to sit here and redefine Hard House or redefine where it came from or any of that shit. Okay? Something happened. I heard something, blew my mind, got my curiosity. I hit you up, and that's basically why we're here. So when I wanted to find out more, like, not necessarily who was the first one or who did this first or who were the people, that I don't really care about that. What I wanted to know is, like, what did these guys from LA, what did these guys from Chicago, what did they hear to give them the motivation, the inspiration, the influence to make Hard House? That's what I wanted to know. So you gave me a couple numbers. So I talked to Jose Two Hype, which I honestly thought he was a guy. I thought he was from LA and ended up moving to Vegas. I had no idea he was from Chicago and then moved to Vegas. Okay, so I talked to him. I asked a bunch of questions, gave me some good info. Then you gave me Alex Peace. So me and Alex have a little bit of history because Alex Peace played at Soul City some years ago for DJ Linwood's birthday. So when I talked to him, it was already a familiar name on both sides. So I talked to him, and Alex really gave me a lot of info, a lot of stuff that I was looking for. He kind of really pointed me in the direction that I was really looking for, the answers that I was looking for. And I had some pieces of the puzzle, and he had the space for it. I had a bunch of dots, he had a bunch of dots, and my dots pretty much aligned with his. I just connected the dots. So after talking to Jose and Alex, I got the Chicago side of things. I wanted the LA side of things. So I talked to Tony B. He gave me some really good insight as well. But the guy that I really wanted to talk to, I mean, what better person that represents LA Hard House than Mark V and Poogie Bear? Now, obviously, Mark V is no longer with us. R.I.P. Mark V. But I reached out to Poogie Bear, and he pretty much told me to go fuck myself. Okay? He had no interest at all to discuss anything to do with Hard House. Okay? Hey, I'm keeping it real. He kept it real. All right? He kept it real, so I'm going to keep it real. Now, two things, to be fair. Either A, Poogie Bear had no interest to talk about his past with Hard House, or B, he had no interest to talk about anything to do with Hard House with me. One of the two. Either or, it was a go fuck myself from Poogie Bear. So the only LA insight that I got was from Tony B. But I did ask Alex and Jose, including Juanito. I did talk to Juanito as well, DJ Juanito. He also gave me a lot of good insight. So I grabbed all that information and putting the pieces together. So what Tony says there's two things when it comes to Hard House and Tony B. One, he says he is the first LA producer to produce a Hard House record. Now, he also says that the record that he's referring to, which is on Strictly Rhythm, and I believe it was called Are You Ready? I believe I have it here, if I'm not mistaken. This is Alex notes. Okay. Because I got receipts. I got notes from Alex Peace and Jose Two Hype right here. So the track was called Are You Ready? Now, he knows that record was not called Hard House. Okay. But I understand when I heard that record, because I wasn't really familiar with it. Or shall I say, by the title, I wasn't really familiar with it. Once I went on YouTube and I heard that song, I'm like, oh, yeah, of course I know that song. But because of what I'm talking about and the questions I was asking, I heard what Tony B was talking about, why he says that's the first Hard House record to come out of LA. And I see it, or shall I say, I could hear it. So what Alex said and Tony said that were in line with those with those two. You got to understand now. When I say Hard House, now we're going to be talking about not the underground construction Hard House, because, and this is completely true, as I was talking to Jose and I was talking to with Alex, because they were absolutely correct, because back in the late 80s, like 89 and then 90, 91, 92, there was a sub-genre called Hard House that was coming out of New York. Now, it didn't have the sound of the LA Hard House, okay, but they called it Hard House, and I'm going to say they called it because that's just the people of New York calling it. I don't think it was an official genre, but it was what they were calling a certain type of house music coming out of New York, specifically Junior Vasquez, Victor Calderon. I don't know if you guys are familiar, you younger guys are familiar with Junior Vasquez, but Junior Vasquez was God back in the 90s out in New York, okay? If you guys are familiar with maybe probably one of his biggest hit, Dream Drums. If Madonna Calls, I'm Not Here. That's Junior Vasquez, okay? Longtime resident at Sound Factory, and I believe also the Tunnel. Anyway, he was like one of the faces of what they would call the New York hard house sound. Danny Tenegula was another one. In the early 90s, Danny Tenegula made an album called Hard and Soul, because a portion of the tracks was soulful house, a lot of vocals and stuff like that, and the other portion of the album was the harder stuff, okay? So when Tony told me about that track that he did, Are You Ready? And once I heard it, the first thing, when I heard that kick, the first thing that came to mind, and I told Tony this, dude, I'm hearing Armand Van Helden, because that kick that Tony had, and he even said he probably even sampled it. He probably even sampled the kick from Armand Van Helden. So once Tony said Armand Van Helden, and also Alex Peace, I'm thinking, oh, now I'm going back to memory lane, remembering those early Strictly Rhythm Armand Van Helden tracks. Now, Armand Van Helden in the early 90s also went under different aliases. You know, Mo People, Sultans of Swing, Move It to the Left, Move It to the Right. That's Armand Van Helden. Okay, so there's a lot of tracks that you guys probably know, but don't know it's Armand. Okay, so and I'm reflecting on these older tracks, and I'm listening to the kick, and I'm like, yeah, that kick was a lot harder, completely different than the regular house stuff that was coming out of New York. So Was Armand Van Helden a influence to the cats out of Chicago that they heard that kick and decided to, how can I say this, to evolve it from there? That's a very strong possibility because I see the connection. So as I was talking to Alex Peace, he also mentioned another name and another label. And I was like, now we're getting to the core, because the name that he mentioned and the label that he mentioned is what basically brought me here to do this show. So, and we're gonna hear what I heard, okay? And let me set that up right now. So basically, a few weeks ago, I got hit up I got booked to do an all classic 90s classic vinyl set. 90s classic house all on vinyl. Okay. Which I get booked quite often to do stuff like that on vinyl. So I'm like, cool, great, no problem. About an hour later, the promoter calls me back up and says, hey, can you focus on Chicago classic house? I'm like, sure, no problem. Yeah, now I would have to dig deeper and more specific. So now I'm digging through not just labels out of Chicago, but also producers out of Chicago. So now I'm whipping out these records. And mind you, a lot of these records are records that I haven't heard in over 20 years. So I pulled out these records and I'm listening to these records. As I'm listening to these records, I'm listening to these records with, you could say, a fresh pair of new ears, because I haven't heard these tracks in over 20 years. So it's almost like I'm hearing these records for the first time. Okay. And as I'm listening to the records, I'm like, okay, cool, okay, this will work, whatever. So I pulled out one record, and literally the second I dropped that needle on the record, as soon as I hit that needle on the record, dude, all I heard was that hard house kick. And I'm like, what the fuck? What is this? I'm like, why would I have this record? But then I flip it over and I said, I bought it because of this track, not necessarily what's on the other side. So I'm like, okay. But what caught me thinking, like, wait a minute, this record is from 1993. And I'm listening to this kick, which is an identical kick to what Hard House uses. Mark V and all these Tragic and Alex Peace and Bam Bam and all these other producers from Chicago and LA, the same kick. And I'm like, 1993. Okay. So I said, you know what? Let me see if I could find another record from that same label. Okay. So I pick out a handful of those records. Sure enough, I hit that needle on record. Dude, we're talking straight up hard house as you and everyone else tuning in knows it. And I'm looking at the dates of these records, 93, 94. And I'm like, wait a minute. This hard house thing didn't really hit until like maybe at the earliest would be 95. Come 96, that shit was already in full swing. 96, 97, those were the two, you could say, prime years of UC and all that shit that was going down. Why am I hearing a hard house kick on a record from 1993 and 1994? And from Chicago, no less. So I'm thinking, can this be what the guys from Chicago heard that influenced them to create Hard House? And I'm like, it has to be. Because I understand listening to a record from Armand Van Helden from 92 or 93, you know, Get on the Donkey and the Witch Doctor, and you hear that kick, that very, very distinguished Armand kick, which you could identify it a mile away. Everybody knows that Armand kick, the early Strictly Rhythm stuff. It wasn't that. It was literally that hard house kick. The BPMs might have been a little slower, but the kicks were identical. And I'm listening. So I'm like, fuck, no way. So then I go to YouTube because I don't have every single release from that label. It's just a handful. So I go on YouTube and I am looking at every single release from that label. Bro, over 50% of what I saw, of what I heard, is that hard house kick. And most of those tracks were from the same producer, which happens to be the owner of that label. And that just blew me away. Because I'm thinking, have I just stumbled upon the roots of hard house? Did I just discover where hard house came from? And I wanted to make sure. That's why I talked to Alex Peace. That's why I talked to Jose Two Hype. That's why I reached out to Juanito, and I reached out to Tony B. I wanted to reach out to Poogie, but that never happened. But and that's why I have this ready, because I want you guys to hear what I hear or what I heard. Okay? And you tell me if this is not straight up. I'm going to play a record from you from 1993. If I didn't tell you it was from 1993 and I told you it was from Bam Bam 1997, you would all believe it. The only difference, and I told this to Tony, and now I told this to the rest of the guys. The only difference between these records that I heard and the hard house that we all know, the only difference is that these records did not have that high tweaky pitch sound. You know what I mean? That hard house is known to have. It didn't have that. However, there were a handful of tracks that did have what you could consider these guys from Chicago, what they heard that sound. I'm like, you know what? I like that sound, but let me take it up a notch. Let me filter it out. Let me tweak it out. Okay? Or more specifically, maybe the guys from LA. Because according to Alex Peace, and I don't know if Alex Peace would be the authority, I don't know, but he made Hard House and he is from Chicago, so whatever he says holds some weight. According to Alex Peace, he strongly believes that high-pitched tweaky sound that Hard House is known to have came from LA, not Chicago. That could be debated, okay? I'm not here to really debate that, okay? Because Juanito, he says the opposite. He says that tweaky sound came from Chicago. I could see Juanito's point, because there are some sounds that you could say, yeah, you know what? I could see that the tweaky sound could have evolved from this sound that I'm hearing. So I could understand Juanito. But Alex, when Alex named that producer that I'm referring to, when Alex named that label that I heard that brought us to this show, which I will let you guys know right now. He said that was a major influence. And I have to agree 1,000%. So I'm going to play some stuff for you. If it sounds a little distorted, I'm sorry, because this is coming from the speakers of an iMac to my phone. So it's not a direct link, okay? But if you guys really want to hear them clear, reach out to me. I'll shoot you the YouTube links so you can hear clearly what I heard, okay? So I'm going to play about 3 or 4 or more. So I'm going to play them as loud as I can and see if you guys can hear what I'm referring to. What I believe, what I hear is like straight up hard house kicks. So let me do this here real quick. And Grease, do me a favor, not say nothing, because I'm going to raise the volume on this computer. So there might be a delay or I hope not feedback. So,
but like I told you before, we got to.
Yeah,
if
exactly,
I have to say a couple words,
because of copyright stuff, because of copyright, we can't listen to these tracks for like a minute. We're gonna hear like maybe 15 seconds, then I'm gonna forward it, maybe another 10, 15 seconds to get to the core stuff, so you guys could really get an idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, so Grease. So when I say okay, here we go, try not to say nothing because I'm gonna crank up the volume on my end. Okay, and here we go. Because of copyright, we can't listen to these tracks for like a minute. We're gonna hear the delay. All right, so here we go. Then I'm gonna forward it, maybe another 10, 15 seconds to get to the core stuff so you guys could really get an idea of what I'm talking about. Okay? So Grease, so when I say, okay, here we go, try not to say nothing because I'm gonna crank up the volume on my end, okay? And here we go. Because of copyright, we can't listen to these tracks for like a minute. We're gonna hear the delay. All right, so here we go. Then I'm gonna forward it, maybe another 10, 15 seconds to get to the core stuff so you guys can really get an idea of what I'm talking about. Okay? So Grease, so when I say, okay, here we go, try not to say nothing because I'm gonna crank up the volume on my end, okay? And here we go. Because of copyright, we can't listen to these tracks for like a minute. Okay? Here's the delay. All right, so here we go. Then I'm gonna forward it, maybe another 10, 15 seconds to get to the core stuff so you guys can really get an idea of what I'm talking about. Okay? So when I say, okay, here we go, try not to say nothing because I'm going to crank up the volume on my end, okay? And here we go. Because of copyright, we can't listen to these tracks for like a minute. Okay? Here's the delay. All right, so here we go. All right, I don't know what's going on, but it's repeating what it's. Are you hearing that? Grease, are you guys hearing what I'm hearing? It's repeating and repeating? Yeah?
Yeah, dude. I was like, yeah, it does sound like Hard House.
Yeah, I don't understand why it's doing that. So I don't know. I don't understand why it's doing that. But hold on. So let's try this again. Oh my gosh. All right. So let's see. Let's try this again. Wow. Yeah, I don't understand why it's doing that. I don't know. I don't understand why it's doing that. But hold on. So let's try this again. Oh my gosh. All right. So let's see this. Try this again. Wow. Okay. I guess this is not going to work because it's for some reason when I raise the volume on the desktop here on the iMac, for some reason the delay is on a loop. It doesn't stop. I don't understand why.
Are you streaming Instagram on your Mac?
Oh, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just
so
minimize and put on the YouTube and thank you for calling support.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
My name is John. Thank you for calling support.
I think that's what it is.
Play it on the burner phone.
Oh, that's what. Okay. All right. So what I'm gonna do, guys, just bear with me, guys. We got this. What I'm going to do here, because I don't want.
Some clean hard house right there.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we got this. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm gonna drop this. I'm gonna kill this. Okay. All right. So here we go. Check this out, guys. Oh, let me raise up the volume. You guys hear that? $1993. Now, here's another one. Now, mind you, these are all from the same record label, and a lot of these are from the same producer. Okay, let's see here. If you guys having a hard time listening, I apologize. Just let me know, and I'll shoot you the links for these. Hear that? That's 1994. Now, just listen to this. This one is from. Oh no. Doing another one. This one is. Check this out. That's also from 1994. Listen to that. $1993. So when I heard that, I mean, dude, tell me if this is not Hard House as you and I know it. Okay? That's exactly what we just heard. So now, what label? R&R. Relief Records. We all know that label. It had the little train track crossings logo with the R and R. Okay? That is okay. Oops. That's exactly what we just heard. So now, okay. So, and the majority of the producers, the majority of the producer, the majority of the tracks that were produced by these tracks that I've heard is the one and only Green Velvet from 93, 94, and 95. So the way I see it, by the dates these records were released, by the artist, Green Velvet, okay, and by the label, all right, that he owns, I am willing to say, if people call Tony B the Godfather of Hard House in LA, cool, okay? If that's what people want to call him, no problem. But overall, from what I heard, I'm saying the Godfather of Hard House, the Godfather of Hard House is Green Velvet.
Dun, dun, dun.
the majority of those tracks on his label were his tracks that he's produced. That hard house kick. You guys cannot tell me what you guys just heard. I could play that track, that record in 1996 and say it was a Mark V track. Say it was, I don't know, Mike Flores track or Bam Bam or Alex Peace. Everybody would believe it. The only difference, it didn't have that high-pitched, tweaky sound. So I wanted to basically confirm what I believe. Now, Alex did not say specifically and only that it was R&R Records and Green Velvet, but he did say that R&R Records and Green Velvet was a huge influence for the Chicago Cats to create Hard House. There were other influences, okay? Other influences. And who's to say that those other influences were not influenced by R&R Records and Green Velvet? And the other producers that heard R&R and Green Velvet, they made their version of what he was producing, and the hard house guys out of Chicago heard those records. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's like a domino effect. You had R&R, the way at least I see it. So you have R&R, Green Velvet. Then you had all these Chicago producers heard that, so they try to duplicate it. So you have either A, the hard house producers out of Chicago had a direct influence from Green Velvet and R&R Records, or some of them had an indirect influence from the other producers that were influenced directly from R&R and Green Velvet. The other question that I asked Jose Too Hype and Alex Peace, I asked them, is it fair to say that the producers, the early producers, the first producers, whoever they are, Mark V, Tony B, Poogie, whoever that might be. That's not what this session's episode is about. But the first producers coming out of LA, whoever they are, I asked Alex, is it fair to say that their influence was the stuff that you guys were coming out, what you guys were producing out of Chicago? And he said 1,000%. So Alex is basically saying they were influenced a lot by what I've heard, Green Velvet, R&R Records from 93 and let's say 94, maybe even 95. They started making hard house, their version of it. The LA Cats heard it and they said, damn, we like this. We could do this shit. You know what I mean? And voila, LA hard house music is born. Another question that I asked, I didn't ask Tony this, but I asked you this, Chris. Because two things can be true at the same time. Can it be possible that a producer out of LA heard what Tony was doing, heard that record, Are You Ready? He said, man, Tony's from LA and I got some gear. I like this kick. You know what I mean? I want to do something similar. And maybe Tony's record influenced a producer. You understand? So, coming back to a close, unless proven otherwise, unless completely proven otherwise, I am going to say, and like I said earlier, everything I say, I have no authority of any kind, hard house or any kind of house. I am not the authority of anything. This is just me connecting the dots that I just happen to come across when I'm listening to these records, preparing my gig for the vinyl classic night. Until someone shows me completely different, yeah, I have to say that the roots of hard house lie deep in R&R records, 93, 94, backed by the man himself, Cashmere, Green Velvet. And if that's the case, which Alex Peace said it was, amongst other influences, I have to say, based on what I heard and what you heard, and I'm hoping you heard it as clear as I heard it, those were hard house kicks as you and I know it today. I have to say, Green Velvet is the godfather of hard house. Indirectly, of course, he's not, nobody said he is. He's not claiming that, okay? But if we're talking a specific genre that was basically keen to LA and Chicago, yeah, Now, you posted a video a few days ago about some kid playing a UC record and say, yeah, back in the day we called this UK and it came from here and this and that. We called it US hard house and blah, blah.
Yeah, US hard
that video?
house,
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
And somebody mentioned, I read the comments and somebody mentioned, well, it lied in Rotterdam, the Gabber. And I'm like, okay, I could see that. Okay, I could see that because it is a hard kick. It's a faster kick. Okay. But if it wasn't for the R&R records and Green Velvets, yeah, I could say, yeah, the roots would lie in Rotterdam. Because the kicks were somewhat similar. It was grimy, it was distorted kicks, okay? But if you listen to the Rotterdam stuff, even though it could be, you could play hard house along with the Rotterdam stuff, there were two completely different sounds within the same, under the same umbrella, if you will, okay? But you could definitely differentiate Rotterdam and hard house. What I just played you guys from R&R, that's 100% identical. Like I said, I could play that record in 96 and say it's the new Bam Bam record. Everybody would believe it. I could play that record today and go up to Michael Trance or Brian Matrix and say, dude, remember this record from Bam Bam? I'm like, dude, no, but that's sick. Yeah, 1996. They'll believe it. Because it's identical. So, again, I am not the authority figure in anything, but based on what I heard, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. And I cannot think otherwise based on what I heard and confirming what Alex Peace said, that R&R Records, those kids, Green Velvet, that's right there. That's the basis of LA and Chicago hard house. Take it away, Grease. Let me look at some of these comments and we'll go from there.
Well, I mean, all I'm thinking is, go back to the argument of punk, who started first? Was it the Ramones, the Sex Pistols? I mean, influences come and go in different ways. In music, we've seen it all our lives. If you follow music, you think somebody probably, influenced somebody. They probably have no idea who the hell that was. Others can let's say, yeah, I listened to that and that inspired me to do this, or I took an idea from here and that. Um, can he be from New York? Maybe. Did he know? No. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Or were they calling it Hard House in New York, like said at the time? So I don't know. It's what came first, the chicken or the egg? But like I said, music is it's very influential in many ways, man.
And I'm reading the comments, and Jose Too Hype is here as well. Yeah, and Jose mentioned exactly what I mentioned earlier. There was a subgenre called hard house. Back in 89, 90, 91, coming out of New York. And that's one of the first things Jose Too Hype told me when I talked to him.
Yeah, but was it the same? You know what I'm saying?
Oh no, it wasn't. It wasn't not the thing. It was just harder. Just like Tony B. Said. He says that's the first hard house record. They weren't calling it hard house.
Yeah.
Okay. But what he's referring to, no LA producer, according to him, and I have no reason not to believe him, according to Tony, that kick, that harder kick, which is basically that Armand kick, okay, he was the first one out of LA. Okay? Because at that time, LA producers, they were making either straight techno, okay, or very deep underground house. David Alvarado, he was making deep shit back in 91, 92, okay? And there were other LA producers, okay? So when it comes to house, they were either doing very deep shit, very trancey shit, okay? Or regular house stuff, Nothing that had that Armand harder kick that I'm aware of was coming out of LA. Okay, so yeah. Again, what you were saying, it was different.
Mm-hmm.
Not like this. What we just heard, identical. So.
Yeah, I mean, the other day I jumped on and I was like, you know what? Hard House 2023 sounds nothing like what we grew up in the 90s into Hard House. It is totally a different, I don't know, hardcore, gabber, freaking techno, whatever. It is just a whole different vibe with that new Hard House. I don't know. You guys are the DJs. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, it can be, like I said, influences come from everywhere, and sometimes you create things you think you're the first one to, do it, and somebody else already did before that, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? So it can be.
Okay, so somebody said something very interesting.
I'm intrigued. Shoot.
Somebody said something very interesting that I wanna address. Okay, Johnny Loops. Yeah, okay. Johnny Loop said that he pretty much guarantees that Mark V and Poogie Bear were not influenced by Green Velvet. Okay. I'm pretty sure they weren't. I'm pretty sure nobody that was producing hard house from LA was probably influenced by R&R and Green Velvet. That's why I asked a question to Alex Peace. And I asked him, is it fair to say that the LA guys that were making hard house, were they influenced by you guys, by the Chicago guys that were making hard house, because they did it first, according to Alex? And Alex says, yes. Okay. I wanted to talk to Poogie to clarify that. Okay. But unfortunately, that never happened. And Tony, his influences came elsewhere. So I could only take Alex's word here because Alex Peace is Alex Peace. Wasn't he one of the main head honchos from underground construction, I believe? Or he was a huge part of that group that kick-started the whole thing with that Hard House. So, yeah, I think anything that he has to say is going to hold weight. So, yeah, I'm not saying that every single person that made Hard House was influenced by Green Velvet or R&R Records or the producers that were influenced by Green Velvet and R&R Records out of Chicago. No. I'm saying the first people that did the Hard House as you and I know it to be, which came from Chicago, from Alex Peace and those guys, their influences were, among others, Green Velvet and R&R Records. LA heard what Alex and Bam Bam and all those other guys were doing, okay? LA heard that and they said, fuck it, I want to jump on that train. And then they started doing it. Who was the first to do it in LA? Was it Mark? Was it this? Was it who? That's not what this thing is about tonight, okay? Unfortunately, I can't really speak. I couldn't speak to a good authority of LA Hard House to ask them what was their influence. What did they hear that said, I want to do that, but I want to do it my version of it. Okay. Or was it a base, or was it, and I know DJs are not going to like this, or was it basically the cookie cutter method? They heard what the Chicago guys were doing and they just duplicated it. You know what I mean? They just duplicated it. And according to Alex, they added their twist, and the twist was that high-pitched, tweaky sound, which Alex says came from LA. Juanito says otherwise. Okay. All right. Okay. I don't know, but you know, that's what it is. But that's why this whole thing caught my interest, because I'm pulling records from 93 and 94, and it had that same identical, not similar, identical, okay, identical kicks, way at least 2 years before LA knew what Hard House was, in the context of what we all know what Hard House is. Okay, so I'm tending to believe Alex. You know, I am leaning to believe Alex that LA was influenced by what Chicago was doing. They didn't hear it from anybody else, because the Hard House that you and I know came from Chicago, from those guys. Didn't come from anywhere else. In the beginning, that is, okay? Didn't come from anywhere else. So I seriously doubt somebody from LA, this guy from New Jersey, I heard his Hard House. Or I heard this guy from Belgium, or I heard this guy from the UK, or this guy from India. You know, he produced his record with the same kick, and that's what influenced me. I really doubt that. Okay, because Alex and Jose never mentioned anything from the UK or any other country. They mentioned Armand, Green Velvet, R&R Records, among other ones. That those were the primary ones. Was Green Velvet and the other producers that released records on R&R with that hard kick, were they influenced from Armand? Maybe. Hard to say. I don't hear an Armand kick on an R&R record. I don't hear an Armand kick on a Green Velvet record. So What I do hear, though, is all those kicks that we hear in Hard House. I hear that from Green Velvet in 93 and 94. I hear that on a shitload of R&R records in 93 and 94 and 95. So, again, unless I am proven otherwise, I have to say that R&R is the seed, the roots of Hard House. And Green Velvet is the godfather of it.
We need to get Green Velvet on the line, and we need to get Armand Van Helden. So go ahead and, guys, give him a call. Get him on here real quick. Let's get this going. Let's finish it off today. Let's find out exactly where it came from. You guys have all the connections. Hit up Armand right now. I'm pretty sure he's chilling somewhere in Green Velvet. I don't know. You know what I mean? Let's get to the bottom of this. Dun, dun, dun.
Okay. So, yeah, okay. Now, Johnny Loops said something else that's also true.
Oh,
that Alex Peace also mentioned. Okay? Alex Peace also mentioned. Because Johnny is saying what Mark V and Poogie Bear was a lot different than what the Chicago guys were doing. And Alex confirmed that. Because he did say that their kicks and their sound was not what Mark and other LA guys were doing. So that leads me to believe. That leads me to believe that many of the early hard house guys out of Chicago, from LA that were making music, okay, they could have been definitely influenced by what the Chicago guys were doing. But what Mark V and Poogie Bear did, they took what the Chicago hard house was doing, and they fucking took that shit to the next level. Okay? Because as a matter of fact, Alex told me that once that hard house really got going, he hated that shit. He stopped producing it. He went on to do other things. Okay? So Johnny Loops is correct. Mark V and Poogie Bear may have been influenced from what Chicago was doing, but they grabbed that sound and made it their own. Okay? And the LA guys heard that, and I'm pretty sure the grand majority of the LA guys, they heard that. Hey, I know Mark. He did this. Fuck, I could do that too. You understand what I'm saying?
No, yeah, of course.
So even though the influence from even though the LA producers of Hard House, the influence came from Chicago, I believe, because what Johnny said is true, and it reminded me what Alex said, that maybe in the beginning it was a lot like what Chicago was doing. But when Mark V and Poogie Bear got on a roll and took Hard House to the heights that it did, everybody started focusing on them, and then not necessarily the Chicago guys, if that makes sense. And this is just me thinking out loud. Obviously, I was never involved in that scene, but based on what Johnny said, based on what Alex said, I'm putting the pieces together here, because Johnny is right, and Alex confirmed it. What Mark and Poogie Bear were doing, even though it was Hard House, it was at a different level than the Hard House coming out of Chicago. Okay. And there was other stuff coming out of Chicago that I'm pretty sure they were influenced from what Mark B and Poogie Bear and all the other LA guys were doing. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? Because those records reached to Chicago. Okay, absolutely. So I'm sure they were crossing influences back and forth. You know what I mean? But that's after the ball was rolling. You know, I'm here. The reason why we're doing this show is to the seed that was planted. You know what I the seed that was planted. I'm not going to disagree with Johnny Loops. I'm pretty sure that Mark V and Poogie Bear, when they were making what they were making, R&R Records and Green Velvet was not on their mind. Okay. However, Chicago was on their mind, according to Alex, because that hard house sound came from there. Unfortunately, I could not talk to Poogie Bear because he would have solidified everything I said or contradict everything I said. Okay? We will never know. Okay? But yeah, that's, again, that's why I did this. That's why I want to do this show, because I think it's an interesting topic, because there's a lot of diehard hard house fans today, and I think this show would generate some traction, which it is. But yeah. So, Grease, continue.
Thanks. The reason it works with Suave is because Suave is, for me, why Suave came up with me with this, idea was he's not a hard house guy. He doesn't like hard house. So obviously he wasn't going to be biased about what he was going to say. And that's the reason why I kind of wanted to listen to what he was saying. Hard house to me was something special because that's what we started listening to here in Vegas, which was, the whole scene for the rebel scene. I know a lot of people don't like hard house, and yes, a lot of the guys saying it does become repetitive. It does become like a little weird after a while. Chicago house definitely, to me, has that same style as well. That's why we loved it so much. Green Velvet was the first one today from where we're at that, lets us know that that's kind of where it started, or that sound. And then I would love to hit up, Green Velvet and be like, hey guys, why not let us know where you came up with this idea? You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure it could go deeper in the hole of where, it went and stuff like that. And I enjoy and I love talking about, hard house and what we're doing and where we're at, and there's a lot of people that we or Suave could have added to the list to talk about it and really get into a bigger, deep rooted idea of where it came from and stuff like that. So, but this is where, our informant DJ Suave went in deep and dug up this stuff, which makes sense, to a sense. Everything has to have a beginning. Might not be the influence to a lot of people, but it did probably be the first one to do it. That's what I think, and mine on it. I would love to open, once me and DJ Suave are done with this, I would love to open the lines, and whoever wants to jump on and do and jump on the live and talk about this, I would love to, because that would be definitely something from, another perspective of other DJs that are here paying attention and listening to producers.
Okay,
and
you know what? Do me a favor.
What's that?
Hey, Johnny Loops, invite Johnny Loops to get on. Okay, invite Johnny Loops to get on, because he basically said, I don't need Poogie Bear. I should just ask him directly, specific, talking about Johnny Loops. So send Johnny Loops an invite to get on, just the way you did it with Stephen Christopher.
Yeah, I mean,
let's see if he wants to get on.
If he said anybody that wants to jump on here, guys, go ahead and let me know right now.
Well,
Johnny
right
Loops, if you're ready.
Let's focus on Johnny.
Yeah, if Johnny Loops wants to get on, let him just tell me right now. Well, we're gonna have to do it live. We can't do the call, but we could do it live. I can send you an invite right now, Johnny. Let me send you an invite right now, Johnny Loops. Yoni. Which one is it? Let me see here. The Johnny Loops. Okay.
No, Johnny, not a phone call. He's going to ask you to go on live just the way I am right now. And your boy Cactus Cooler is on, talking shit, as always.
Cactus Cooler. Joe, today, bro, take it easy, man. We're amongst legends. I just sent him an invitation, see if he gets it. Just accept and let's just jump on and let's talk about it. I think we could have a really good conversation today with the bases being, hard house and whatnot. So I sent him the invite, see if we could get jumped on right now. But yeah, man, I mean, this is I love this because it does open the lines of communication,
right,
with some people saying this and some people saying that, and it always makes a good show where there's different opinions and ideas and maybe things that they know that we don't know that makes this a better show. So send him the invite.
Let me also address, I forgot, I'm trying to find the person that said this. And I don't know if they're saying it in a I don't want to say the word disrespectful, but I don't know if they're saying it because they want to discredit me in some way. I can't find it. They were saying, yeah, Suave is not a hard house guy. Yeah, I'm not. I am not a hard house guy. Okay. But just like Grease said earlier, because I'm not a hard house guy, I'm
sense.
going to say exactly what I heard, what I see. I'm not a hard house guy. I hate that shit. Okay, but that doesn't mean I can't ask some questions. And these questions came, I don't know if you heard the beginning of the show, but these questions came because I was listening to these records from Chicago, because I got booked to do a vinyl set, a classic house vinyl set. And as I'm listening to these records, I heard this one record and it had a hard house kick. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing with this record? And then I realized I bought it because of the other track. Because I'm a fan of R&R records. Okay, and I still got to do some more digging. Okay, because the gig is not until next month. So there's the and as I'm listening to these hard house records, to these
your screen, Johnny Loops. It should pop up right now on your screen. Say invite, just accept. It should pop up right now.
Yeah. So as I listened to this record, I'm like, wait a minute. So I pulled out other records from that same label, and it had the same hard house kick. And that's what got my curiosity thinking, like, wait a minute, is this where? Because I look at the year these tracks were released. Now, if these tracks were released in 96, 97, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But these tracks were released in 93 and 94. At least 2 full years, maybe even 3, before this hard house really kicked off, the hard house that you and I both know, with the same identical kick. And that just blew my mind.
So okay, just for you saying, hey, okay, what is the actual thing of saying, okay, this is hard house? What are the formation? What's the beats? What is a hard house song? What does it pertain?
Well, to me, I'm not the authority of hard house, in the least, okay? But I heard enough of it, okay? I heard enough of it that I might go deaf later on in life, all right? But I heard enough of it to know what it is. And to me, hard house, be it from, well, I guess from LA, because I'm assuming, even though Alex says that high-pitched tweaky sound came from LA, I'm assuming there were a lot of Chicago producers that were making hard house had that high-pitched tweaky sound. So for me, hard house is that hard, distorted kick along with the snare at the same time. So it's not like a boom, tss, or a boom cha. You know what I mean? It's that cha with the kick at the same time. That snare and kick at the same time. Okay? That along with no bass lines, because hard house does not have bass lines. All right. That along with that high pitched tweaky sounds. Those two things combined, that's hard house to me. Rotterdam, you could say Rotterdam, Gabber, completely different sound. Rotterdam, you could say, yeah, some of the kicks are similar, but everything else was completely different. Okay, completely different. I lost my thought. What were you saying?
No, what is hard house?
What
The
is
creation, you know,
So
yeah, what is it?
that's
What
how
beats?
exactly.
You know,
That's how I would describe hard house. If you were to play me a Rotterdam record, I'm like, nah. You play me a Mark or a Tragic or those guys. Yeah, you could spot that a mile away. You could spot that a mile away. Now later on in the late '90s, early 2000s, UK hard house was a big thing. Okay.
but sounds nothing like.
Oh yeah, completely nothing
like
nothing.
what we grew up as.
No,
House,
absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't know where their influences came from. It definitely wasn't the LA hard house or the Chicago hard house, because that hard house, the UK hard house, had melodies. Okay, the kicks were different, faster BPMs probably. It was definitely a harder kick, but the kicks were different, and it had bass lines. Okay, it had actual bass lines. So completely different vibe, completely different sound. But yeah, they call that the UK hard house, which I believe came from a different spectrum from the hard house that we're talking about. So so Johnny Lube can't make it, or is he in his chonies? That's why he doesn't want to come on?
No, I mean he's game. I just can't get him in, dude. I've been trying to,
or maybe
it says Johnny Loops is unable to join.
Maybe he's on IG jail like I was.
Oh yeah. Or if he's watching it on his computer, he ain't gonna be able to do it. He has to do it.
It has to be on his phone.
It has to be on your phone. Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny. If you're watching it on a computer, no, it has to be on your phone.
Yeah. So, but anybody else, open the lines. Let me know, and then I'll send you the link. It should pop out the moment I send it to you. It should pop out and saying, "Hey, join the thing on the bottom." It should have a little guys with the little plus on there. I don't know. What are you seeing? Because this is what I see. Obviously, I'm hosting the event, so for us, on the very bottom by the comments, you have a little square. Looks like a video camera, and then you have two little guys with the little plus, and then you have the question mark where you leave questions, and then you have a little share button. So I don't know if that's what you're seeing on your phone, Suave, but that's what I'm seeing here right now.
So Johnny, go ahead and go ahead and reply if you're having trouble getting on.
Yeah, I've been sending him the invite. So it's like you have what do you have on the bottom of yours, dude? So because I always see my thing, it says comments, and then it has a little square with the plus on it, two little guys with the plus, and then a circle with the question mark, and then a little arrow as well.
No, yeah, I'm not seeing that, and I'm sure and if he's I'm sure he's not seeing that either. Since you're the host and it's coming from you.
Yeah, so mine's is different.
Yours
what do you see on the bottom?
All I see on the bottom is a long.
Yeah, where it says comments.
It says add comment, and then right next to that is a little question mark, and then the little arrow to send the message. That's it.
All right. Maybe if you hit up here in the top. Who's watching? Oh, okay. Host. Okay, let's see here. Let me, if I send it this way, maybe.
So look, as far as the show is concerned, that's all I have to say. I have nothing else to say. Okay, I am more than open to be proven otherwise. Again, I'm not trying to make a statement saying that this is it. Okay, I'm just saying this is what I heard. And until someone says, no, dude, it's this, I have to believe that R&R, because they were released in 93 and 94 with the same identical kicks, I have to believe that that's the root of it. And hey, Green Velvet is the Godfather.
Yeah, I mean, this is what your research brought, and because we have so many DJs on right now, I would love any of you DJs want to jump on right now, talk about it real quick. Just send me a let me know, or send an invitation, and I'll plug you guys in. We'll love to keep talking about it because I mean, I set myself up for all-nighters on Wednesdays, so let's kick it, but I'm really interested in what everybody here has to say about it and what
Absolutely.
What their perspective, maybe they shine a different perspective of hard house and what they I'm in bed naked. Put it on, bro. It's not like we haven't seen you before. Naked.
So the only thing that we could say that is confirmed and written in stone, okay, that is written in stone. The only thing that we could say this is the actual factuals, okay, is that Hard House came from Chicago. That's it. Okay? That's the only thing that we could say. Well, because Alex P said it, okay, and he is an authority figure in this, and anything that he has to say when it comes to Hard House holds immense weight. I could also say, I don't want to say written in stone, but it's definitely extreme high probability.
It holds weight, pretty much.
It holds weight.
It holds weight.
That LA producers, the Hard House LA producers, were influenced by the Chicago guys.
Yeah.
That was first. LA came second. Okay. LA came second. And LA started making Hard House because the Chicago guys were making Hard House.
There's a video that I found on YouTube, and it's like it was a Hard House Summit, I think, in like 2000 and something.
Yes, you told me about this. Yes.
Yeah, so I think Irene had the microphone and she was going to talk about it, and then the guy that was hosting it says something in the forms of like, "We want you to talk about Hard House." You hear CZR in the background. It's like, "Oh, you mean Chicago House?" So, and I had the opportunity to talk to CZR and had an interview with him, and I brought that up for him and stuff like that. So, it was to me it was new. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When you told me that, it makes sense because that R&R stuff is from Chicago. Okay. That's a born and raised label out of Chicago by Green Velvet.
Oh, so R&R is from Chicago.
Oh yeah, 1000%. So
New
it's
York
Chicago house.
Yeah. So the New York stuff that you were talking about that they were calling Hard House had sounded nothing like R&R records.
No. Absolutely
mentioned
not.
Something about New York. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely not. The Hard House that was coming out of New York, they were calling it Hard House because it had a harder kick than the usual stuff that was coming out of New York. Because New York, for example, Energy Flash, right? We all know that one. That was a Hard House record. Okay, that was a Hard House record. Frankie Bones. All right. That record doesn't sound nothing like the Hard House that we both know, but that's what they were calling because it was harder. Armand had a harder. Listen to that. To Get on the Donkey, Witch Doctor. Okay, listen to those kicks, and you listen to the kicks from all the other Strictly Rhythm stuff. Completely different.
I got Johnny Loops in. I got Johnny Loops.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Loops in the building.
AKA DJ motherfucking Juanito.
Juanito in the house.
Juanito.
What's up, dog? You didn't even know.
Hey, motherfucker, don't tell me you didn't know I was Johnny Loops. Busta Groove, Johnny Loops.
Shit!
You
Come
just
on,
learned
Suave.
something, didn't you?
Come on,
What?
Suave.
I thought
God
you were,
damn.
you know who I thought you were? I thought you were John. Wasn't there a Johnny from Dynamic Duo?
No.
Wasn't there a?
Come on, man.
I thought you I thought you were a completely different Johnny. Oh my God!
I started Johnny Loops in
Now
1992.
now that I know it's you, yeah, of course. Now it all comes back. Yes, of course.
With Busta Groove, bro.
Yes. Now, of course. But before you went on, I didn't put those two together. I'm thinking it was another Johnny. I want to say a Johnny from Orange County.
No.
Okay, but
You're just digging a deeper hole, bro.
Johnny Chingas or what?
Johnny Madres? No, Johnny Sabes, güey.
Like I said, you don't need Poogie. You don't need Mark. May he rest, rest in peace.
Okay,
I was there, bro.
Okay. Because the reason why, and I told you this, the reason why I didn't go into super detail with you is because you didn't produce Hard House.
I hated it.
Right. So I wanted to talk to somebody.
I couldn't stand that music.
Right.
I even made a shirt that said that said Hard House with a check with a big old strike down the middle. Bad Boy Bill loved it. He wanted one. He goes, Juanito, I want one of them shirts. It had a big old strike. Boom. I didn't like that shit, bro.
And that's why. And I told you I'm gonna have to ask because I told you what you gave me.
But let me tell you. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you how this came about, dude. Let me tell you how I got involved with it. Mark V, he was besides being my good friend. Okay, he was a good friend before anything. Okay, he was, I guess you could say, an unofficial. What do you call it? An intern.
Juanito Groupie?
A Groove Nation. No, he wasn't he was like a Groove Nation intern, let's say. Okay. So he was around, the studios, and we had literally 4 studios in Hollywood in the same building. Okay, at the peak of Groove Nation. He would come to me. Oh, it was a point where this was after Feel So Good, Lina Santiago, and I still had the Universal stuff going on, right? He would come to me, hey Juanito, man, I got this stuff, man, I'm doing with Poogie, man. Can you hear it? I literally blew him off over and over and over again.
Yes, I remember you telling me that.
7, 8 times, dude, I blew him off.
Yes.
Finally, I said, okay, Mark, let me hear what you got, Mark. Okay, so he brought me some stuff back. I heard it. I go, okay, Mark, that's not going to work. Okay, you need to do this. You need to do that. You need to do this. And to top it off, boom, I gave him a kick. Use this kick. Start off with that kick. So what I did is, like Tony B said in the chat, distorted that sucker. Just pumped it up and distorted it. I gave him the kick, right? Okay, I gotta kiss my son goodnight for he's going to bed. Good night, Milos. Okay. All right, so I gave him the kick. He went back to the drawing board. He came back, and I go, Mark, you're almost there. Do this, do that. I kind of told him what to do. We did that about 4 or 5 times until finally he came back with finished product, dude. I go, now you got something. And that was the first EP that we did, right? Now, mind you, as this is going on, DJ Tragic is blaring all over the radio. Pants are sagging. What else? I can't remember the other. There was a couple other hits that he had on the radio, right? But Pants are sagging. Pants are sagging, right? That was the biggest record. Okay, so we put the EP out. So Poogie Bear and Mark V are born. They came out with their first EP.
Hold on. Are you saying Pants Are Sagging was produced here in LA?
No, no,
Oh,
no, no,
okay.
no. I'm not saying that.
Okay,
No,
okay.
that's Tragic out of
Okay, okay.
Chicago.
Okay, I got lost for like a split
Yeah.
second. Okay, go ahead.
There was some other tracks he was doing, right? But DJ Henry was behind all that. He was playing all that stuff. Now, I don't want to get into that part yet. I guess you could say we're still at the top. Lina Santiago still on the radio. A Mover la Colita still on the radio.
What
SNN
year
Lina still on the
was
radio.
this?
That was in the beginning of 1996, a few months into 1996,
Okay.
right? So we do the first EP for Mark. Okay, it does well, man. It does extremely well. We press a lot of vinyl of it, and that's how I know if it does well. If I sell more than 5,000 pieces of vinyl, it's a good a good release. So I can't remember this part. I can't remember if it was the second EP or the third EP. This is the only thing I can't remember about this. It might have been the second EP. When I got the shipment in for the second EP, I remember this. I had boxes of those records in my studio. Okay, I have boxes. I can tell you this: DJ Irene was there. DJ Linwood was there, Mark V was there, and this is what I said. And again, I don't know where it started. I don't know where we used to call it Chicago House before it was called Hard House. We used to call it Chicago House. It's a Chicago House, Chicago. Everybody knew it as Chicago House. That's all I remember. So when that EP came in, I said, "Hey, we're not in fucking Chicago. Why are we calling this Chicago House? We're not going to call this Chicago House. From this day forward, we're calling that shit Hard House."
Boom.
That was
Right.
that was period. End of story. You know what? If it was called Hard House in New York, I didn't know it. It wasn't. We were trying to create a genre. We weren't just trying to create just a name of something. So and DJ Irene was in the building. DJ Linwood was in the building. I gave them the new records, and I said, from this moment on, we're calling it Hard House. We are not in fucking Chicago. Period. That's the way it is. Me and Tragic had this conversation, and we both laugh. And he says, "No bullshit." I go, "Bullshit." We laugh about it. But as far as I know, that's how it went. As far as Tony B's track, he claims he did the first one. Again, I don't know what he. I mean, I did hear the track. I went back to YouTube and I pulled it up. It does have the hard kick, but I keep saying it takes more elements than just a hard kick to turn it into Hard House, in my opinion. It needs some more sounds. It needs some sounds to define that genre. I heard some other stuff. I heard more house stuff along with that hard kick that Tony B put on that track. So that's all. That's all I gotta say about that. I mean,
Well,
if you
and to give credit to Tony, even though Tony says that that's the first Hard House,
right,
he knows nobody was calling that
no,
record Hard House.
nobody was calling it. Nobody was calling that
it
shit
Hard
Hard House until '96, man.
Right. So the reason why he says Hard House, and this is where I have to agree with him, because the reason why he says Hard House is, one, no, according to Tony, and I would have to, again, I don't know every single producer out of LA that was making music back in 92, 93, okay? But according to Tony, the way he sees it, no LA producer, and I tend to agree, was making house music with that harder kick. It was either straight techno, okay, breaks, trance, deep house, or just your regular run-of-the-mill house.
Now, Rudy Rude Dog was experimenting. Rudy Rude Dog did a few EPs that were a little different. Now, I sent a link on this chat where it showed one of Rudy Rude Dog's tracks, and it was the first track on side B of an EP we released called "Move This Nation." If you hear "Move This Nation," you will hear a lot of you will hear those elements. Maybe not to the extreme as how Poogie Bear Mark V did it, and definitely not to the extreme of after it, because dude, that shit got out of control.
And that's
After.
exactly what Alex told me. And Alex said when Alex P said when that shit got out of control, he walked away from it.
Yeah, that shit was. I mean, I didn't like it from the beginning, but I did like Poogie Bear Mark's V's because they had a little bit of funk in theirs. It was some funk samples, and then they introduced a lighter version of that tweak sound that I could stomach. Okay, I couldn't stomach a lot of it, bro. And even Tragic, man, that pants are sagging shit. How the hell did that end up on the radio? I don't know. So that's just my I'm not gonna say it's my opinion, bro. It's what the fuck happened, because I was there.
Right. So here's back to what you were saying, and this is the basis of my whole thing here. Okay, the basis of everything. You said that you had you said who's the one that had a kick that gave it to Mark?
I gave it to Mark. I literally went into the studio. I got on my 909 because I had the 909, the actual 909, and I just put it you put it on a channel. I distorted the shit out of it. All I did was turn it up, man, until it was banging red, and I sampled it, and that's what I gave him.
What year was that?
That was 96.
96.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you saying when you made that kick, it just came out of your head, or were you influenced by something else?
No, dude. I just I was hearing what like Tragic was if I was influenced.
Okay, all right. So you heard the Hard House out of Chicago.
Yeah, but it wasn't called Hard House. It was called Chicago House.
Right. Okay. So you heard what was coming out of Chicago, what we call now Hard House.
Correct.
Okay. You heard that.
Yeah.
And that influenced you to make that kick that you gave to Mark.
That's fair. That's fair enough to say.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. And that was in 96, you said.
And the reason I know that Poogie Bear and Mark V weren't influenced by that guy is because that thing kind of came out of the thin air, man. What was going on, because they were producing that stuff on the fly, because they kept on coming to me and saying, "What do you think? What do you think? Are we there?" I go, "No, you're not there." You know what I'm saying? Okay. I wasn't listening to that guy. I never even heard of him, to be honest with you.
We're talking about who?
Green Velvet.
Green
Velvet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Green Velvet.
Green Velvet and R&R Records. Okay.
I never even heard of them. Are they out of Chicago?
You're talking about you never heard of him until right now?
Yes, I never heard of him.
You never heard of Green Velvet?
Never heard of them. Never heard of them.
Are you serious?
No.
You never heard of Brighter Days by Dajae?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you tell me.
Green Velvet.
You shoot me shit like that, I'm a no.
Yeah, that's Green Velvet.
Well, damn. Yeah, in that case, I know his shit, but I never heard of him.
Yeah, everything that Dajae did. Everything that Dajae did out of Chicago.
You didn't even know you didn't even know Johnny Loops was DJ Juanito. Shut the fuck up.
No, I know Johnny Loops. I was just thinking of some other Johnny, which was somebody said the Johnny Links, or something. So there was another Johnny that Caesar G had a partner with. I thought that was the Johnny that I was talking to.
You know what? I should be ashamed of myself. It was Caesar. It was Caesar.
Caesar had a partner.
Yeah, and I should be ashamed, man, because I dealt with them, and God, man, it's gonna come to me.
I thought that was you.
No, man.
But then but now of course I know Johnny.
Hey,
Loops,
you know why I created Johnny Loops?
Now I know. I just had my wires crossed.
That's when I came from the Bay Area, and I go, nobody's gonna know DJ Juanito over here. I might as well start a new name. You know what I mean?
Right. So anyway, so that's Green Velvet, okay? And he started a label called R&R, which is Relief Records, okay, back in '92. out of Chicago. So yeah, Green Velvet is 1,000% from
Well,
Chicago,
listen, bro.
born and raised.
Brighter Days is absolutely a gem, a house gem. Okay, so I don't see how that could get in, mixed up with a hard house
Well, did you
sound.
tune in? Did you tune in? Did you tune in earlier to the show?
I watched the whole thing, dude.
Okay, so you didn't eat those. Did you hear
All I
those tracks that I
heard was
played?
distortion.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna send you the links.
Yeah,
I'm gonna send you the links so you could hear these tracks.
yeah,
Okay, and dude, and these tracks are from 93, 94. And dude, it is a straight up identical hard house kick.
yeah.
Just like I told you,
I,
like you heard, I could grab that record and play it today
bro,
and say it's a record. This is a Bam Bam record from '96 that was never
could have
released.
started in Mars for all I know.
Yeah.
I don't care. All I know is that our contribution to that was strictly Poogie Bear and Mark V and naming the genre. That's it. That's it. I don't know where the hell it came from.
And that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to know. I wanted to know where it came from because of what I've heard and the year these tracks were released. And that just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Okay? That just blew my mind. Not because it was an R&R record. Not because it was Green Velvet. Because when I saw the year, I'm like, wait a minute, this is 94. Why am I hearing Hard House in 94?
Yeah, so that's that's weird. That's weird.
You know, so
one thing I'd like to
that's why I asked all these questions.
Yeah,
that's why
one
I
thing I'd like to address. I've heard this more than once, and I've seen this more than once, and I will absolutely tell you from being in the clubs in LA in 92, 93, Hard House did not come from techno, man.
Oh no.
It did not come from techno.
No,
Techno is more melodic. It had more structure.
Yeah.
Hard House is brainless. My fucking 3-year-old, my 8-year-old can do Hard House.
Yes.
Okay. So there's no way that Hard House came from the early techno. Now the only thing that all of this stuff has in common is the 4/4.
Yeah.
Now that goes all the way back to disco. We can go to disco and beyond, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but by no means did that sound. As a matter of fact, sometimes I'm actually ashamed that we came up with Hard House, bro. To be honest with you,
Tony, peace.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, yeah, because listen, look, we all know house music came from disco out of Chicago. Okay, we all know that. And we all know, at least we all should know, that techno came out of Detroit. Now, the influence for house was disco. The influence for techno out of Detroit was not disco.
Okay, so we're talking about two different technos then. Because the techno I'm talking about came from the UK, from Europe. Most of it, all the stuff I know of.
Okay, now I know what you're talking about. Okay, now I know what you're talking about. Either or, okay. The Detroit stuff or the UK stuff, that Hard House didn't come from any of that shit.
Okay, we're in agreement. We're in agreement.
Yeah, because I don't hear it. I don't hear it. Now, when I say techno, if I'm gonna say Rotterdam, I'm not gonna say techno thinking of Rotterdam. No. If I'm gonna say Rotterdam, I'm gonna say Rotterdam. Or if I'm gonna say, or I'll say Gabber, okay? Or maybe even hardcore. But when I say techno,
I can see that.
When I say techno,
right.
I am not talking about Rotterdam. I am not talking about Omar Santana. I am not talking about any of H2O records. I'm not talking about all that shit. You know what I mean? I'm talking about techno.
Yeah.
All right, techno. So yeah, Hard House, UK or otherwise, I don't see the
No,
techno
it didn't.
influence in that.
It didn't. I
It
think
didn't. Okay.
we
I
should.
see it more on the Rotterdam. I see it more on the Rotterdam hardcore gabber. I see it more there.
Yeah.
Okay. But techno? No way.
Yeah.
And Alex Peace didn't say that. Okay. Jose Too Hype didn't say that. Alex Peace didn't say that. Now let me ask you the same question I asked Alex Peace. Okay. Is it fair to say, and you might have answered this question, I'm trying to think, but is it fair to say that the LA hard house producers, their influence was the Chicago hard house producers?
I would think so. If not them completely, maybe they got some influence from Pookie Bear and Mark V.
Oh no, that's almost a given.
Yeah.
Okay, because if an LA hard house producer didn't hear nothing coming out of Chicago, oh, absolutely had to be Mark V and Pookie Bear. Okay, so
I mean, the only one, again, I keep going to him is because he's the one that stands out on the pedestal. Is Tragic. He's the one. He's the one that opened those floodgates.
okay, yeah, and Alex said more or less the same thing. Because isn't
So, yeah.
okay, yeah, I'm getting confused with another guy. Who's the guy that ran UC?
That's God, what's his name? Oh God, man.
And of course, and he also passed away too.
Yeah. He went under Speedy something.
DJ Attack.
Yeah, DJ Attack. Yeah.
Attack. Yeah.
DJ Attack. There you go.
Yeah.
DJ Attack.
But I should be
Okay.
ashamed of
All right.
myself because I know I should have known his real. I knew it. What? Oh God.
DJ
I knew his real name.
Attack. Okay. Now let me ask you, Juanito.
And
this is a question.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, Jose. Thank you. It's Andy. I should be ashamed. Andy was really good to me. He was
Andy.
guy.
He's the other guy that ran UC, right?
Huh?
Was he the other guy that ran UC?
He was.
No, it was
UC.
Andy. No, it was Andy. It was DJ Attack.
Yeah.
Okay. Andy was like the white guy, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So let me ask you the same question that I would have asked Pookie Bear. Do you think Mark and Poogie, when they started making what we know now as hard house, do you believe that they were influenced from the Chicago guys?
I think you know what? I can't really answer that, to be honest with you. I can't really answer that. I would guess possibly, maybe,
Okay.
possibly, but still their sound was different.
Oh no, absolutely, yeah. And Alex Peace made that very clear. Very clear. Okay, now I'm not a hard house guy, so I can't think in my head. In my head, I'm hearing hard house tracks that were very popular. I just couldn't. With the exception of one or two, I don't know if they were from LA or Chicago.
I'll give you a good example. What influenced me to produce Feel So Good? Lina Santiago. I'm a big freestyle guy from the 80s. Okay?
And I can hear that.
Show Me Love from the Cover Girls was one of my favorite songs.
Okay.
So I did a song called Show Me Love, Feel So Good. So, and I put a little, I put the 4/4 sound, and then on the hook came the freestyle feel.
Right.
Now, what's funny is I did a complete house version, which I love the house version, but to be honest, because of DJ Henry and the way he mixed it on Power 106. That the one with the 4/4 and the freestyle version, that's the one that kind of I ran to the studio and did that edit real quick because Bruce St. James from Power 106 asked me for the edit, which because of Henry, and the way he mixed it, because he got one side, side A, and then he mixed side B. So, and now you got the Feel So Good Edit. So,
Okay.
but anyway, my point is, we all get influenced from something somehow. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's the whole basis of this whole episode of Sessions, because again, hearing these identical Hard House kick from 93 and 94, that's what blew my mind. And that's what made my brain start going nuts, thinking, okay, is this what they heard? And da 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 da, and that's why we're here. So there's a lot of things that Alex said that would point in the direction that I'm thinking. There's a lot of things that you said that point in the direction that I'm thinking as well. Okay? Because that's why I asked you what year it was.
Yeah.
And you said 96.
96.
You said 96. Right. So, and that's why I asked you what was your influence?
Yeah.
What was Mark's influence?
Yeah.
And I believe, I strongly believe that Mark V and those guys in the early years, yeah, they weren't influenced. I seriously doubt that they were influenced by R&R and Greenbelt.
Yeah,
Okay.
that I could almost put
they were.
100% on that.
Yeah, I don't think they were, but definitely they were from the Chicago guys. And Alex,
And not taking nothing away from the Chicago dude. Chicago did it all, brother.
Yeah. And let me tell you something. Alex, the way he talked about Mark V, because what those guys did, and I mean specifically Mark and Poogie, they elevated that genre to new heights. Okay? Because even though Hard House, as you and I both know it today, was coming out of Chicago, what Mark V and Poogie Bear were doing was it was under the same umbrella, but it had a different vibe.
No, absolutely. There were 2 or 3 of them that I actually really loved, because there was some little funk involved. And and I'm like, now that's I can't think of the one off the top of my head as my favorite.
Alex told me when the guys from Chicago heard War from Mark V and Poogie Bear, this is how he told me, dude, we lost our shit when that song came out. That was the track that elevated that shit to another level.
That one didn't come from my camp. That either came from Greedy or Underground Construction. I can't remember.
But wasn't that a Mark V and Poogie Bear track?
Yeah, it was, but it didn't come from my camp.
Oh, I see what you mean. I see. Yeah, I don't know what label it was. I don't know. I don't know if it was. I have no idea. Okay, but dude, Alex told me that was the track that just lit everyone's ass on fire. You know what I mean?
I don't want to sit here and praise this damn music, bro. I hate the shit. I've always hated it.
Here I am talking about it in a certain way.
I'm going to continue hating it. And I just, yeah, bro. I think we should just cut this and start talking about disco right now. Right. Because, yeah, bro. We're giving it too much attention, dude. They don't need that much attention.
But yeah, anyway, so that's why, for those of you guys tuning in, trying to wrap this up here already. That's why I'm talking about it, okay? Because I'm listening to these R&R records, and it's just 100% minus that tweaky sound.
Might have been. I would have to hear it.
I'll send you the link.
I think again, there's a certain element that needs to take it to that level of production. To call it that, either Chicago, the early Hard House, which was Chicago House, or Hard House. I don't think just the kick alone can we'll put it in that genre style.
Well, that's true. That's true. But once you hear it,
that's like saying what's her name is a real country artist.
Oh,
Yeah,
Beyonce?
that that really? You
No,
produced
yeah.
one little country, and now you're a country artist? No, no.
uh, but yeah, I mean, but that's why we're here. Okay, that's why we're here. I heard these tracks, and I didn't buy them for the track for that specific track. It was on either the A side or the B side, because I'm a Green Velvet fan. Okay, and yeah, I mean that's why I'm here, and I just wanted to clarify. I wanted to ask all these questions because every artist, every DJ is influenced by something. Okay, and that's why when I heard these tracks, I said, no, this has to be it. This has to be it. But
I want some of the listeners there to think about this for a minute. Okay, when I was growing up, when I was growing up, we were listening. I heard like all the funk stuff that they call old school now.
right,
I on the radio. George Clinton, Funkadelic, all that stuff. I actually heard on the radio. I'd go see them in concert. Tina Marie, um, uh, uh, um, Michael Jackson, right? All these people I heard on the radio, and I would dance to at clubs. And when I'm old, or say older, I could be proud of that. Now, all the kids that dance to Hard House, what are you gonna say?
We danced to
We
Hard House.
dance to Hard House.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
I
for
ran away from
us,
Hard House.
no, for us here in Vegas, like, I'm going to be honest with you, me getting into the scene at that moment, 95, 96, Hard House here in Vegas, I always compare it to punk music. A lot of rock stars, a lot of real rockers would say punk was garbage. It was just distorted music. It was just, but for us, Hard House was a huge movement that happened for us in Vegas. That's why I love Hard House, because it's what got me into house music when I was growing up. I was listening to, rock music, classics. I was listening to, alternative, and it was always and punk music.
Dude,
So it was always like the extra oomph on it.
I was a Human League fan and still am. That's what I used to love all day long. Human League, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I
See,
mean?
I'm a Minor Threat fan. You know what I mean? I'm a,
Yeah.
No Effects, Guttermouth, those grimy bands that were coming out. They're like, dude, they make no sense, but it's cool. It's just music to people. Was like, no, this is garbage, bro. What are you doing? So when Hard House for us here, that like the rebel scene for us, that's why RebelDaze 702, the rebel scene was powered a lot by that genre of music. Yes, we listen to deep house, we listen to house, the beginnings, and then the Chicago house was mixed in with the hard house. For us, we didn't have that radio power here for that. You know what I mean? We had the DJs going out to Chicago, to LA to get the records to play it for us. And when War came out, War was one of the greatest songs for us because that was our call. War came out, everybody stomping their feet, shit went crazy. You know what I mean? Now that I'm older, I have so much respect for disco house. I have so much respect for all the other genres of house that are out there, and going back. But when we were growing up, that was the calling, that was the sound that was moving us rebellious kids.
Right.
We're always going to lynch onto something.
I don't want to. I don't want to piss off none of the listeners. I know there's
no, dude. Hey, no,
I know there's a lot
this
of
is
people that
real.
love it. I know that there's a lot of people that love it, and yeah, you're right. It will bring back memories if
Always.
if that's what you remember for the clubs. I mean, when I think about when I was playing at the Red Onion, songs like "I Can't Get No Sleep," will bring back memories to me.
Mhm.
The real deep house stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, man,
No,
whatever.
and the thing I like about this is that everybody could be real. Everybody could feel however they want to feel. It doesn't matter, right? Like, it's like we're all gonna have different opinions and ideas of it. I know a lot of people that hated Hard House and still to this day hate Hard House. There's one of the guys. That's why I was so intrigued to hear Suave talking about Hard House when I know damn well, he hates Hard House. That's why I'm like, the next show is going to be reggaeton because he hates that shit too. You know what I mean? So it's always fun to do that and hear, Juanito being there at the beginning, influencing so much of our culture in this music scene in the house scene for us. I love to hear what you say because it does resonate
It was good
on
times,
what happened.
brother. It
Yeah,
was it was it was good
regardless of what
times.
it is, it was great times, and we all love it and enjoy it, man. And that's why I like to do this show because it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna fact check nobody. It's your stories, and you guys want to share it. You hated it, hey, cool. You hated it. It is what it is. But we all come to the same thing as that. We all love house music and the scene and what you guys created for us. And this is like an homage to you guys always, man. So I
I
appreciate you
think
guys doing
I
this.
think it goes on. It goes beyond the music a little bit too. It's a point in time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, I love it,
it's all
man.
good, my brother.
No, I love everything you guys said today, man. I'm rolling my ass off of here, man. It was great, man. I love it. Love it.
I put
So I'm
aside some
gonna.
production to be here, bro.
I appreciate that.
I was supposed to finish a track tonight, but that's not going to happen now. So I'll just I wanted to chime in here.
And I
You
love it.
know, now I mean I'm sure you guys seen that I now have a my own account at Track Source, so
Yes. Yes.
I'm kind of
Yes.
kicking ass now, and I'm helping a couple other people produce. I'm getting back into doing a little training because we need to get as much product out there as possible.
Of course.
So I'm always talking about Poogie Bear and Mark V because of that. Because when I train, I feed off of those days because I kind of use them as reference. Like, hey man, you know what? If you just listen, follow instructions and directions, and trust me, you you will become a rock star. You know what I mean? In production. So and we will release you, put you out, and all that stuff. So
I'm
so
glad to
that's
hear that,
what
man. I'm
that's
glad you're
what
back at the grind,
that's what's
brother.
up.
We
I really technically never left. I just kind of went into hibernation for a little while.
it's and this is just me getting older now. It's like, nowadays with like it being so easy to quote unquote produce music, these guys are doing in their, with their little laptops and stuff like that. It's just, and I say this all the time, it just doesn't feel the same as when you guys were producing music back then to what it is now. Because every 2 seconds, somebody's coming out with a new track, and it's like bam, 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 bam. You know what I mean? And it's
Hey,
like
now that
retention.
you just kind of sparked something right now.
Mm,
I'm going to give you a topic to talk about, and I'll even help pump this up. Okay, I want to talk about samples. Talk about samples from the beginning to now. How will you use them? Who's upset if you use them? What are the new rules? I promise you that conversation will go for a while, and there's a lot to say there, bro.
yeah,
There's a lot to say.
Well, you know what, Juanito? Let me ask you
Yeah,
this, because when I first started producing years and years ago, okay, let me put this. Look, I got the Akai S2000. That's how old it
right?
is. Okay, we were using Cubase 2.0.
Oh yeah,
Okay, that's how long ago when I first
yeah,
started doing
yeah.
this. Okay, so I heard, and this was back then. I heard that you are allowed royalty free if you sample something that's less than 2 seconds. Is that true, or was that true?
That was true. That
Oh,
was true. I think it was under 3 seconds, or 2 bars, or something like that. Yeah,
is that true still? Is that true still today?
well, the game has changed, bro,
Right,
by leaps
right.
and bounds. But there are certain things that 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 can be said and told, and there's a lot of stuff to unpack here regarding production and samples. So let's put it this way: I'm not. I've always been a sampler. I will sample and never stop sampling. There are companies that sent me their entire catalog so I could sample their shit after I'm mover la colita, right? In the hopes that I could recreate that magic. You know what I mean? I got the whole. I went to go visit Univision. Univision's music department. They gave me their entire catalog, bro. They said, here, some guy came in with a box full of fucking CDs and said, here's for you, man. Go to town. You know, so many companies have done that. So, yeah, that's just a good topic, I think, to
Yeah,
talk
because
about.
I remember first sampling, okay, with the Akai, and I was told that you have to keep it under 2 seconds or something like that, and we did. But now, as like you said, the game has changed because now you could create a whole track based on a sample with a second. You know what I
That
mean?
that and nowadays you can actually sample and release something and not be afraid to do it. A lot of people are afraid to do it, but nowadays you can actually do it. All they're going to do is either take away your you keep the credit and you keep the master, but they will take the royalties
Ah,
from you. So there's so many different ways they could maneuver it. You know what I mean? So it's a wild wild west, bro. Still.
right.
Again,
And because of that, I've noticed I never tried it because, like you, I'm a sample freak. I love samples. I get sample packs all the time. But what I've noticed that a lot of people and Robin Thicke got in trouble for this, okay? Because I believe what Robin Thicke did was not a sample. He probably
he played it.
recreated the
He played it.
melody.
He
He
recreated it. Yes.
recreated
Yeah.
it. So I'm thinking these judges don't know shit about shit, and they'll just hear something that sounds similar. Oh, it's copyright. No, is recreating under the same guidelines, under the same law as sampling?
There's a thing called mechanical licensing.
Okay.
That's a whole other monster. You know, when you start doing stuff like that. You know, so there's again a lot to unpack there as well. But let me tell you a fun fact. My entire Buster Groove, well, at least the old the classic Buster Groove that was on vinyl is streaming on the internet, bro. You listen? Hey, over here, over here, over here.
Go ahead.
The entire catalog is streaming on the internet, and no one has questioned it.
Which volume you
All
said? Number two?
of them,
All of them.
all of them. So
And I have
go
that.
figure. Go
And
figure.
nobody said shit.
No one said shit. No one said a damn thing.
Wow.
I mean, if someone does, I'm willing to either share or take the shit off. It doesn't matter to me. But it's all up there. We just said one day we said, fuck it, let's just put it up. Let's see what happens. And nobody, not a word. So it's crazy, bro.
I
Yeah, that's
think
why a lot of people to get to a lot of people release music that they know it's copyright infringement. They'll release it on Bandcamp because they're
Yeah.
oh they
on Bandcamp. You could get away with murder.
I have a friend that sampled a lot, and he got removed from Bandcamp a few
Are
times.
you serious?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
that's where you go to get all your white labels and bootlegs and your unofficial unreleases. That's where you go get you. That's where you get all those edits, that
Yeah.
are not available elsewhere because of copyright.
Yeah.
And what did your friend sample?
Old school stuff. Old school stuff.
It had to be some crazy shit for Bandcamp to give him the boot.
But he would do these things called redrums. Redrums.
Okay.
You know what a redrum is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he'd do a whole catalogs of redrums.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess.
Yeah, that's a little different. Yeah, that's
Yeah, that is.
going
Yeah, Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right. Yeah, but okay. I know Greece is like, what the fuck you guys talking about?
No, dude. Trust me. One thing that I'm gonna be honest with you. One thing that has taught me doing this is that I understand what you guys are saying now when before I didn't, because I'm not a DJ, or a producer or any of that stuff. But I understand what you guys are talking about because of me hanging out with you guys, talking to you guys. It soaks in. I was gonna chime in about people, sampling. Us older guys were sampling of music that we were hearing at home. So these younger cats are now sampling of things that they were hearing at home. Most of these younger kids are sampling stuff from the 90s. And that's why the 90s is in up right now because of that. When I posted that video about Hard House, I hear it now because a lot of these kids that are doing that tech house are sampling a lot of songs from the 90s to create these tech house songs and whatnot. So it's just, like the circle of life in music.
You
It
know
just
what's
keeps going
funny?
and going.
I just do you guys remember Suave? Do you remember a song I did called "If We Love Each Other"
No.
on Groove Nation?
No.
I just gave permission to Martin Garrix's label for some guys that wanted to sample that record.
Really?
94, 93, yeah.
Re-
Yep.
Martin Garrix himself or someone from that label?
Well, Martin Garrix's label.
Okay,
So
Martin
his people
Garrix' label.
contacted me. They a group there sampled one of my records and they wanted permission and all that.
Oh,
So
yeah. I mean, that's what I see. I have an event that I do every first Thursday here in Vegas called the Households.
mm,
And it's pretty much open decks. Anybody can come through. And I'm starting to get a bunch of younger kids, 22, 23-year-old kids, learning how to DJ on controllers, and they'll do sampling and they'll produce their own stuff. Like I said, it's very easy nowadays to just buy or even go on one of these websites and create your own songs. But because they listen to that music growing up at their household, at their house, now they're playing these tracks speed up maybe a little bit, maybe a little different here and there, but they're sampling from like what we were listening to growing up. So a lot of these new songs are coming out with the new style, but still with that old flavor that we grew up listening to. So I
yeah,
hear it. I hear it all the time now, and then we did was listening to, like you said, old school, freestyle stuff like that. A lot of the influences that you guys were producing music from was coming from that you guys were listening to at home.
yeah. So listen, I got to go to the store. I got to bounce real quick. But before I do, I want to do a shameless plug here. And I know that that people will drop by and watch these things occasionally, and I want to do a shameless plug if that's okay with
No,
you.
dude, always, bro. You know that,
I,
man. Your
I, I'm
family, bro.
I'm starting a new uh, company, I guess you could say, a website. It's
A dating
called
service? Is that what you're starting?
no, no. It's called DistroGroove.com.
Okay.
And it is what it almost sounds like. It is like a distro kid. It is like a CD baby. It is like a TuneCore style thing. But there's a couple of things that I want to do to uh, to kind of be different or stand out. Those companies actually undercover rip people off, and I've dealt with them all. I've released music with them all, so I've seen it, and so I have the website up now. It's called Distro Groove. It's going to be in the whole Groove family, GrooveEmpire.com, GrooveNationRecords.com. The whole thing. Stream of Groove I got as well, but Distro Groove is done. But I haven't launched it yet because we're still kind of testing. It's like in testing mode, I guess we could say, like in a little beta. But pretty soon, Distro Groove. If anybody wants to release tracks to all the digital streamers out there, I will be doing that. So all more details coming soon on that.
As soon as it goes out, bro, just tag us on it. I would love to share that to all these I have a lot of producers and a lot of kids coming up with music. I would love,
And,
to share
and
that
it,
to
yeah,
get you going, with
and
that.
it's not just dance music. Yeah, you could do country if you want. You could do rap. You could do anything you want. You could release whatever you want. It's not just dance.
Oh man, just yeah, please tag me on
Yeah.
there, bro, and or reach out to me, tell me, hey, yeah, we're releasing it, and I will make a whole post on it and share it, dude, and send it to the right people. I would love to help out on that as much as I can, whatever I can do for you guys. Love
Right
it,
on,
man.
brother. Right on, brother.
Love
Right
it.
on.
Hell yeah.
Suave. I'm out, baby.
All right, my man. Thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, for sure, for
Thanks, you,
sure.
Juanito.
All right.
Johnny
Hey,
Loops.
how do I get out of this motherfucker, man?
Here, we'll get you out right now, right
Right on,
here,
brother.
and have a good one, brother.
Later.
There we go. See,
Right.
that's why I like doing these shows, man, because we have an idea and then before you know it, it goes left field real quick. That was the legend Johnny Loops. You didn't know DJ
No,
Juanito.
I was thinking of another Johnny. I was like, for some reason, I had a brain fart.
So when I interviewed him, that's how he came on the line. He was Johnny Loops. So I was like, okay, cool. Like I get it. I know who he is now. So I thought you knew the whole time he was leaving these
No,
messages, and that's why you wanted
no.
him on, dude. I was like, yeah, that's Juanito, man. Um, the lines are open, guys. If you guys want to jump on, talk about it, whatever, I'm gonna leave it open for a while. So, but yeah, that was cool, man. Having Juanito on and talking about coining the word hard house on for the LA scene, Chicago house. We got to the depths of, Green Velvet as the godfather of hard house,
No, no. Well,
knowingly or not.
that's what I would say. And
Yeah,
the guy
that's
that I
what
was
Suave would
the
say.
guy that I thought was, it was Johnny Lex.
Oh, Johnny Lex.
I
Yeah,
thought
somebody said that shit.
when I saw
Yeah.
Johnny Luke, I was thinking of Johnny Lex.
Yeah.
That's what
No.
I thought.
No.
Because Johnny
But
Lex, if I'm not mistaken, he's from Orange County.
uh-huh.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so that's I was thinking that, but yeah, of course I know Johnny Luke.
Of course you know.
Yeah,
Of
right.
course you know, dude. But that was a funny thing of it, man. It was cool. I mean, I do appreciate you doing all this stuff all the time, man. I love having these conversations with you and you coming up with the ideas and doing stuff. And after talking to I've been throwing another podcast sessions idea. And I think maybe with what Juanito said and reaching out to production side to probably help out all these younger kids and getting into production, maybe we could start a sessions masterclass where people can come in and check it out and see like, hey,
Right.
this is what production, sampling, stuff like that, and get the idea so it could better the music. I mean, the idea is definitely to make it better for everybody here that's a DJ, for the new tracks and new music, and keep going, man. Love it.
Fucking Purex. I'm digging through the Luis Miguel catalog.
Hey, you can sample that shit as long as you're pulling your hair on the top. Hey, dude, there's this guy that I follow. He does a lot of the old school 70s music, and then he'll throw some beats on it. Super dope. And he'll do it right in front of you while he's doing it. He'll show you the record and then he'll play it, and then he distorts it and does his thing while you're listening to his track. So I mean, that's the influence is there. I'm pretty sure he was influenced by 70s, pasteles verdes kind of, style, Los Angeles Azules, and doing his music, so that's the beauty about music, man. It's just it's so versatile, it's so changing and stuff like that. And I know everybody is not a big fan of hard house. For me, it was what started me into music was not music in general, but house music was the introduction of hard house, deep house music to do this stuff. So there's always going to be a soft, nice little spot for hard house, especially being a rebel. If I can listen to punk music and shit like that, it was always like, oh yeah, fuck this. Fuck this nice little fucking you know, blue skies and sunshine and rainbow, and you're just like, boom, 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 like, yeah, fuck shit up, bro. Boom, boom, boom. Shit stomping motherfuckers making faces at each other, like battling and shit. Yeah, bro. That was for me, it's always gonna be here, man.
But yeah, you know what? I think what Juanito said and what Alex P said and what Jose Two Hype said,
Tony
uh,
B, all them, yeah.
putting all that and then what I heard and putting it all together, yeah, I think what my assessment of the whole thing is pretty much on point. I can't say it's written in stone like this is it, but yeah, Alex did mention R&R. He did mention Green Velvet, and definitely the LA guys were influenced by the Chicago guys, and Alex, what Alex said is true. what they were making out of Chicago and what LA was making, especially later on. Again, you could under the same umbrella.
No,
but
no,
it was
yes.
two completely different. It was a different style.
Yeah.
It was a completely different style.
The way I connect that is like you could do Pants Are Sagging from Tragic and then blend it right into, you know, This Is Los Angeles or This Time Is War kind of shit, right into each other, not missing that point that you're trying to make with the music of like hard hitting on the floor kind of deal. You know what I mean?
And Pants Are Sagging, I don't know if I told you this or not, but Pants Are Sagging is the first hard house record that I heard. The first one I heard. I was at some party and I heard this song and it caught my attention, but in the worst way. Hold on.
Yeah, no, I mean, Jose's right on that.
Yeah.
You know, take away in the
yeah. True.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just like everything. It's like everything. It didn't go from Elvis Presley to fucking Iron Maiden. You know what I mean?
Know.
There was a lot in between.
Oh yeah,
there was a lot in between.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, if you say Elvis Presley and then you have the conversation Chuck Berry, you know what I mean? Like that's the same thing that you're saying with Green Velvet and Chicago House.
Right.
It's like, yeah, did it come first? Were they influenced? Yes or no? You know, it's just pinpointing that sound that Hard House has that the other house didn't have, the other houses didn't have, and then where it took it from there. You know what I mean?
So
I love it.
When I heard Pants Are Sagging, I mean, it caught my attention because it was like, what the hell is this? Mm-hmm. And I remember the DJs around the turntable because the guy that I guess he let the DJs that were around him say, dude, I got this new shit, you know, or check out this track, this badass or whatever. Cause I heard the little excitement before he played that record. I felt it because I was in the vicinity of the turntables. And when the guy played that record, you know, I just heard, obviously, I heard the Tribe Called Quest. Obviously, you know, I knew it was Busta Rhymes right off the bat. I knew it. So I don't know if it was that caught my attention or the actual beats around it, but it was something that I've never heard before. It was a sound that I was like, what the fuck is this? You know? And I didn't ask, and I didn't hear the word hard house that night. I heard it months later. But yeah, that's the first hard house song that I heard that I knew.
You grew up they sampled Pants Are Sagging. That's from Tribe Called Quest.
And I didn't know it was gonna be this thing. I just thought I was just one of those one records, you know. I didn't know it was gonna be a thing at all. But You know, it's, yeah, it's, you
I,
know, that's what it is.
I mean,
That's what it is.
for us, that movement here in Vegas was like, you know, it was that sound was
Hold on. Sam, the name of the track. The name of the track was called "The Scenario," and it's by a tribe called Quest. Okay, so there you go.
yeah. When that song, when that music, when that sound started hitting here in Vegas, like I was just getting into that party scene. Um, the sound of not just the bass, but the people dancing was a lot of stomping. And, you know, as it progressed, the circle of like people battling, and normally the circle in Vegas, you would see breakdancers doing it, right? And pop, or, you know, doing pop blocks and stuff. But all of a sudden you see these guys like doing these dances to these, you know, strong beats. And it was just intriguing, you know, for us, like for me, experience the underground party scene in Vegas was like, holy shit, like this is a sound. Mind you, once again, going back to like I would always say, it wasn't a very common thing to listen to house music in Vegas. You would hear like CNC Music Factory and stuff like that on the radio, but it wasn't like dedicated channels or dedicated times to listen to that music. And our DJs here in Vegas were working overtime getting us that music. You know, Jose to Hype, you know, a big legend in Vegas, because you know he was one of the first ones for me to bring that music to us in the scene, in the underground scene. So them going out and above and beyond to bring that music to us in that style and that scene was definitely a way to start it. You know what I mean? I loved it, every of it, man. Vegas scene before Hard House.
Well, that's it for me, man. I got my illegitimate children I got to put to bed. So.
Man, Matt Johnson just came in all late and shit, bro. I heard
Are you
four
saying
of
he just got on?
Yeah, bro.
He
even
told, yeah, he even said, "Hey, I'm gonna try to tune in. I might be there. I might be a little late."
Dude, so my homie GJ Panic rolled up about a month ago, 2 months ago, with 4 new tracks that Matt Johnson just produced. Hard House, bro, fucking fire, bro. Like, being a Hard House guy, obviously you don't care, but you know, for me, it were amazing jams, bro. I fucking bumped the shit out of them. They fucking sounded great, and it was just nice to listen to new Hard House. You know, it still felt like the old Hard House, but it was just the new tracks. So I heard 4. I don't know if he has more, but those 4 tracks were fire, dude. So hopefully with this new you know, resurgence of these kids listening to Hard House now, that would be definitely a cool thing to do that. Sammy,
Death to Hard House. That's all I gotta say.
The DJ. Yeah, man. I jumped in the Vegas scene back in '95, man. Yeah, that's cool. Jeff from South Stations, you're late, bro. Come on, bro.
Back to sleep.
We needed you, bro.
We needed you, Jeff.
You know Green Velvet, Jeff. Jeff, do you know Green Velvet? Jeff needs to answer these questions, man.
No, dude. Speaking of Green Velvet, I'm gonna see him soon. Okay, I'm gonna see him soon, and I'm definitely gonna ask him about that,
bro. If you can get,
I'm gonna ask him if he's aware of the Hard House coming out of Chicago. What you and I know of Hard House. I want to see if he's aware of that.
Dude, if you could video, like literally, if you could like record him saying something like that, bro,
I want to try to do
and
that.
Fucking send it to me so I could post that, bro, because that would be fire on here, dude. Like, hey,
and you understand, it's DJs like that, okay?
Look, Jeff just said it.
High profile DJs like that, they're very careful, okay, when they're getting interviewed, or especially on people coming up to them with their phone, because they don't want to be taken out of context or using their image to say some other bullshit. You know what I mean?
I get that.
Yeah, because I remember this is like maybe 5 years ago. I asked Carl Cox what he thought about EDM, okay? And before he answered, he wanted to make sure that There was no cameras, and nothing was being recorded.
Yeah.
You know.
No. I do it. If you get him on here and we'll fucking chop it up here and talk about it, like I'm all about it because that's
no. That I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I'm gonna see him soon, and I'll just say, hey, let me ask you this, so my friend could check it out.
Yeah, no, and the thing is this is that, I mean, a lot of the times when I've asked people to come on to RebelDaze and do these sessions is that they think that we're one of those pages that's looking for the, the hot take and the hot button, you know what I mean? And for me, it's just, I let people just, speak their piece. I'm not going to contradict them or anything, I mean, I just want to listen to what they have to say about it. So, but I am very curious to see what he says about like the influence of him or that label having that influence on Hard House, since after I've seen that video that I posted that a lot of the newer DJs are starting to use old Hard House tracks on their sets now as they're DJing.
Now I don't know if Jeff is saying this because he tuned in earlier to the show. But if Jeff just got on and he didn't hear anything of what we said,
he just jumped on.
Because if that's the case, then it's very interesting what he said, because he said Green Velvet is responsible for Chicago Hard House.
No, dude, whatever Jeff says about music, bro, like a homeboy knows his shit, dude. When he says that, dude, like everything. If it would have came on earlier, we would have already handled this business.
Yeah, so
we would have been talking about something else.
Jeff. So let me tell you real quick, Jeff, the recap of this whole thing. That's exactly what I'm saying. Because the reason why this whole show started, the reason why we're doing this show is because I got booked to play a classic 90s classic house. They asked me for 90s classic Chicago house. And as I was looking for these records out of Chicago, I ran across these old R&R records, relief records. As I'm listening to a few of these records, I'm hearing that same hard house kick. Okay, identical kicks, the snare, the clap, identical, everything identical. Okay, and I said, damn. So I'm pulling out more R&R records, same thing. So then I went on YouTube and looked at more R&R records, and it's a lot of it is the same shit. And what blew my mind is that these records were released in 93, 94, and some in 95. So I'm asking myself, why am I listening to these hard house? Why am I listening to hard house that sounds exactly what was coming out of LA and Chicago in 93? And that's why I said that I'm concluding that the roots of hard house, along with other influences, of course, primarily came from R&R records and Green Velvet, because half those records that I was hearing was produced by Green Velvet. And that's why I say that the roots of hard house is R&R records, and the godfather of hard house has to be Green Velvet. So when you said that Green Velvet is responsible for the hard house in Chicago, yeah, dude, that's exactly what I came up with. That's exactly what I came up with. And when I send the link to these videos to Grease and Juanito, yeah, dude, they're gonna hear exactly. Dude, yeah, I could play those records today and tell an LA Hard House fan or even an LA Hard House producer, say, dude, this is a one that was never released by Bam Bam in 96, and they'll believe it. Little do they know it was from 93. So that's why we're doing these sessions, because, man, it just blew my mind. It blew my mind because of the years that were released. Not necessarily the kick, not what the music, the year it was released. Because if these R&R records that I had, or that I have, were released in 96, 97, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they were released in 93 and 94 and it had the same fucking beat, identical to what was coming out of LA and Chicago. That's what made me think that, no, dude, I think this is it. This has to be where it came from. But anyway, so that's basically the whole show.
Two things that I'm gonna, that I've learned right now out of the whole 2 hours, 2 hours that we've done, 3 hours, two things that I'm learning. Number one, all we had to do was just ask Jeff from Sound Stations, because instead of you calling everybody, he knew all this shit. And number two, nobody influences Matt Johnson. Nobody influenced Matt Johnson. Matt Johnson does this shit from the Dome, Maserati Mott. He knows it. But yeah, man, I mean, you would have saved a lot of time calling people. We just call Jeff and be like, yo, dog, this is what I think. Yep, you're right. These are the people you need, that did this, and that. I mean, this guy's he's an encyclopedia, bro. Jeff's dope, man. I mean, yeah. Jeff from South Stations. Matt's 100, bro. Nobody influenced Matt Johnson, bro. Nobody influences Matt Johnson. Matt Johnson influences. Matt
Johnson is the godfather of godfathers.
He influences everything, bro.
Hey, you know what? Let's kind of sort of change the subject here, since since I just mentioned Godfather. Okay, and let's see if Matt and Jeff agree. Okay, so we did a sessions about Frankie Knuckles. Okay, and where house music came from and everything. Okay, and there was something that I should have said that I completely forgot to say, and I know there's not a whole lot of people tuning in, but I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it right
now. They catch it on the rewind.
Okay. You asked certain questions about house music in Chicago. What was the first one, and this and this and that. And I told you that it was Jesse Saunders. Mm-hmm. He made the record On and On.
Yes.
So I'm thinking. Now, obviously, it is written in stone and it's been solidified, cemented in history that house music came from Chicago, and that Frankie Knuckles is the godfather of house music. Mm-hmm. However, I am not going to deny that, but I will say that Jesse Saunders should be the godfather of house music. Okay?
Yes.
And not necessarily Frankie Knuckles.
Yes.
And this is why. Number one, why is Frankie Knuckles the godfather of house music? Well, Frankie Knuckles didn't invent house. He didn't create it. Okay? Frankie Knuckles didn't even come up with the name. Okay? The people of Chicago were calling it house music. Not because they wanted to start a new genre. No, they weren't calling it house music because it's a new genre. No, they were calling it house music because the music that Frankie was playing was exclusive to that one club. Nowhere else in the city, nowhere else in the Midwest, you could hear that music. And obviously the name of that club was called The Warehouse. And people were saying, I want that warehouse music. Where can I get that warehouse music? And from warehouse, it became house. Okay. Frankie had nothing to do with that, indirectly, as far as the name is concerned. What was Frank? Now, people knew what Frankie was playing as far as genres concerned. Frankie was playing disco. They knew it was disco. Frankie was playing a lot of disco, a lot of R&B, a lot of funk, and a lot of soul. So they knew the genre. They knew it was disco. But it was disco they never heard before. It was disco that was only exclusive to that club. Okay. And that's why, because of that, Frankie Knuckles is the godfather of house music. He didn't invent it. He didn't create it. He didn't even give it its name. Okay. Jesse Saunders, on the other hand, for those that don't know, Jesse Saunders has been credited for having the first house record.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How that happened was that he had his record stolen. And in that stack of records that were stolen was this one particular record that he just loved. And for some reason, he couldn't buy it again. So he decided to recreate that record. If I can't buy it, I know how the record goes. I'm going to try to duplicate that record, recreate it, but kind of give it my own style. Okay, so I could play it. That's exactly what he did. So he made that record. He gave it to Ron Hardy. He gave it to Frankie Knuckles. And as we know, everything that Frankie Knuckles played that was coming out of that club was called house music. Okay? So now, when Frankie and Ron Hardy played that record, people from Chicago, at first, they had no idea it came from a 17-year-old kid from their neighborhood. They thought it was coming from Europe or somewhere. But when the Chicago cats found out that on and on, that Jesse Saunders was the 17-year-old kid from the south side, from their own neighborhood, people said, wait, I could do something like that. I could do something better than that. So they started doing it. Then other cats from Chicago heard other cats doing what they're doing, and they said the same thing. Wait, that's my friend. He did this? I could do that too. So Jesse Saunders, because he made a record that he wanted to duplicate, recreate a record that was stolen from him, that was the first domino that fell. He's the one, because of that record, that's what started the whole thing. Nobody was making music until Jesse made that record. That to me holds more weight than what Frankie Knuckles did. Frankie just played disco, and the people called it house music. Jesse made a record, and everybody else said, if you could do it, I could do it. And I could do it better. And guess what? They did. Because of that, Chippy, Steve Still Curly, Farley, Larry Heard, all these other cats came up. Jesse was the first one, and because of what he did, lit the whole city on fire. Everybody started making music. Thus, house music was born out of Chicago. That's why I say Jesse Saunders should be the godfather and not Frankie.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that argument, I agree with you 100. You know what I mean? Jesse was the first one to produce the first house track. But what came first, right? The chicken or the egg? If there was no Frankie Knuckles doing the warehouse, then there wouldn't been no Jesse doing that.
Remember,
you know what I'm saying?
Like, right. Yeah. Remember, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Because we're going to go back a little bit. Because look, Frankie Knuckles is not from Chicago.
No, he's from New York.
Exactly. And the
Yeah.
only reason,
It's
and the only reason why
we,
Frankie went to Chicago is because Larry Levan said, no, I don't want to
yes.
go to Chicago.
Yes.
But my friend Frankie, take him. He knows
Yes.
everything I know.
Yes. No, I mean, like,
Okay?
it's always going to be that, you know, and it's funny because it's going back to the Green Velvet Hard House. You know what I mean? Green Velvet did not know that they were creating Hard House. It had to be
Right,
the Chicago
right.
guys to be like, hey, this is Chicago House. And then the LA cats said, or like Juanito said, this is now called Hard House, and Hard House was born, right? So, yes, there is a lot of music that influenced LA Hard House or Hard House in general, but technically, Hard House, the name and the creation of Hard House was LA, even though the roots go to Chicago and before, you know, all the way down to Green Velvet. Is the same thing with, you know, the house, you know, thing. And Jose brought it up right now. Jose Too Hype said it was the way that Frankie Knuckles was playing those side Bs of disco and the leftover disco that didn't get burned in Chicago, you know, was still being played. He played it a certain way that was, you know, cracking the doors open to Jesse and everybody else that came in. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I
it's
think, to me, because and I'm not trying to say that what Frankie did wasn't important or significant,
mhm.
because or impactful, because yes, he did. Okay, he played music that was not being played anywhere else. Okay, he played music that was not being played anywhere else, and because of that, they they associated that music to that club.
Mhm.
They weren't saying, I want the Frankie music. They weren't saying, I want the music that Frankie plays.
No, they wanted the
They were
warehouse.
saying, I want that warehouse music. Where can I get that warehouse music? Or I love the warehouse music. That's what
Okay.
they were saying. Okay. And I just think what Jesse did and what Jesse started, unintentionally, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, that's more weight than what Frankie did. Because
I mean,
if Jesse didn't make a record, nobody from Chicago would have made. I mean, eventually, years later, I'm sure producers from Chicago would be making music. Okay, but not in the time frame and in the setting that Jesse did. Okay, because Jesse, like I said, he kickstarted everything. Jesse was the reason why Chippy and Steve's and Joe Smooth and all those other cats made music. Because they said the same. They said exactly what I just said. If he could do it, I could do it. I can
do it. And better.
He's a 17-year-old kid that made this song in his room, living in his mama's house. And if he could do it, I could do it, and I could do it better. And that's exactly what they did. Okay? Jesse did something, and I'm not saying that Jesse is not a good producer, but Jesse lit the flame. He because of that record, he exposed the talent out of Chicago. Because these kids were not trying to make music until they knew some kid down the street in their neighborhood made it.
Yeah.
You know? Because when On and On was being played, just like when Frankie did with Jamie Principle, Your Love. Okay? When Frankie Knuckles did that track with with Jamie Principle, everybody thought Jamie Principle was some white dude from Europe. They had no clue it was a black dude from their own in their own city. Not a clue. They literally thought he was some white rich dude living in a mansion making music in Europe. That's what they thought. So when they heard On and On, that's exactly what they thought. Oh, this is another dope track, and I'm sure it's somewhere nowhere near Chicago. But when they found out, they were like, what? I know that guy. I could do that.
What?
That's why I say, I don't want to say that Frankie, they should erase it, but I think that's why I say that Jesse Saunders should be the godfather of house music. He should share it with Frankie if you want to go that route. Okay?
Yeah.
Because they say, because there's another argument for Ron Hardy. They're saying Ron Hardy should be the godfather of house music. And I see their point, but Ron Hardy did not start what Jesse started. Jesse started a genre. Jesse started a culture. Jesse started what the world now is doing because of Chicago, because of Jesse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, why do we have to go with the Godfather and not go with the forefathers, right? Like we do it with, the American Revolution. Answering Jeff real quick. So when we were doing all this stuff, Tony B, Are You Ready came out, but it wasn't called Hard House. The coin Hard House wasn't, from what we learned today, wasn't coined until Mark V and Poogie Bear were doing music with Juanito, that Juanito said, call it Hard House. But that Are You Ready might be, the first track in the LA Hard House, but it wasn't named LA Hard House. It was just Hard House. And the influences that we're talking about for that kind of genre was Chicago house. Then later finding out that it was from R&R Records, Green Velvet, a few earlier tracks that they played that had that same sound. So coined the Hard House wasn't, pushed out till Mark V and Poogie Bear were doing it by DJ Juanito. Now, this is what we learned today after doing all these and asking all these, questions of Hard House. The name Hard House was used in New York before, but had nothing to do with the LA Hard House that was created by Mark V and Poogie Bear. That's what we learned today. Yeah, Are You Ready could be said that it was the first LA Hard House, but it was never called Hard House till later on. It wasn't known as Hard House. It was still known as Chicago House. Juanito actually joined us today and kind of broke it down, saying Pants Are Sagging was probably one of the songs that influenced in a way that bang, that Hard House. And then Juanito called it Hard House for Mark V and Poogie Bear. Man, I learned so much. I sound like I know what the fuck I'm talking about, and I don't know shit.
to say, I want to touch what Jose Two Hypes is saying. Yes, obviously Frankie was in high in demand. Okay, but what I'm referring to is that when I say that Chicago didn't want Frankie, I'm talking about before Frankie went to Chicago.
New York didn't want you.
Robert Williams was the promoter. Robert Williams was the one that wanted to, he was, speaking of influences, Robert Williams was extremely influenced by the Paradise Garage. Okay, so he wanted to do what New York had with the Paradise Garage in Chicago. Okay. Yeah. And he wanted Frankie. I mean, he wanted Larry. Not Frankie.
Yeah.
Frankie was never a thought. But when Robert Williams asked Larry, Larry had the garage at the highest level to a point where even if Larry were to miss one night, it would affect the club. Okay? So Larry said, no, thank you. And Larry told Robert, hey, take Frankie. So that's what I meant. That's what I meant. That's what I meant by that Chicago was not, had no interest. They weren't even thinking about Frankie. Obviously, when Frankie went to Chicago and then, he did what he did, yeah, everybody wanted Frankie, of course. Okay. But that's what I'm referring to.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm referring to, that Frankie wasn't even a thought for Chicago. Okay. It was Robert Williams. Okay. Chicago didn't even know. I'm not going to say this. I don't know. Maybe Chicago knew about Larry Levan because the Paradise Garage was this monstrosity club. Maybe Chicago knew who Larry was. Maybe that's why Robert wanted Larry Levan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But anyway, Jose, that's what I meant.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
let me fix something real quick. Johnny Loops just jumped on and said Pansar Sagan did not influence him. He actually got the 909, hit the beat, and distorted the shit out of it, and that was kind of like the sound that Mark V and Poogie Bear started with. So my bad, but that's why we do these things, so I can make sure that we get the right, history from the mouth, from the actual guys that were there at that point, and I compare it to that video that I posted about Hard House. Like, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about because they don't know. You know what I'm saying? They just pick it up and go with it. And, the other guy kind of throws out that, what is that? Rotterdam. Rotterdam. I don't know what the fuck that is.
Okay. Rotterdam is a city in Holland. And back in those days, there was a lot of techno with a very specific sound coming out of that city. Mm-hmm. And that's why they call it Rotterdam.
Oh, okay. Marshall Jefferson. Yep. Also another, that's what I say. Like, I sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah. What I was just about to say, what Jose said is absolutely correct. What it go? Yeah. The early house didn't sound anything like proper house. It was still a lot of beats and samples. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, and then what he just said right now was talking about Marshall Jefferson sort of has house music, melodic, and pianos. That's why I say, I don't think it's okay to say one person is the godfather of something when it is more or less saying the forefathers, because I feel like all these, pioneers of the music put their own 2 cents and their own style and their own thing to it to create what is now house music. You gotta include, Jesse. You gotta include Hardy. You gotta include Marshall. You gotta include all these guys because they all kind of added their own, twist to what we now called house. So one name, Godfather, it should be more of like forefathers, or I think there was 5 of them or whatnot. That makes more sense because I think everybody had their own uniqueness to add to the culture or the creation of what is now known as house.
It's funny that he brings up Marshall Jefferson because Larry Sherman, the guy that ran Trax Records, okay, he didn't want that record to be on Trax. He didn't want it. Okay, he did not want it because of the piano. Mm-hmm. He did not want it because of the piano, and but yeah, sure enough, Marshall convinced him and became a house mega super anthem, But that's exactly why I say Jesse should be the Godfather. Mm-hmm. If you want to say co-Godfather, if you don't want to limit it to one person, even though that's what it is right now, which is Frankie, But definitely that's why at the very least, Jesse should get more credit than he's received. Okay, he should get more credit because, man, like I said, he's the one that started the whole damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he started the whole damn thing. But that's pretty much it, man. I'm as far as I got nothing else to say. I love everything that Lewis Love touched on. Okay, all right. Everyone added beautiful things. Okay, being blah blah. Okay, Jose. Let's see, early Jose. Everyone had their own style. Yes, absolutely. Everyone had their own style because you have look. What Joe Smooth, hit Chippy, and Steve Silk and Marshall and the early cats, they were doing different shit, right? But when Larry Heard started making, it was a completely different sound. Larry Heard had a completely different vibe. What Larry Heard was doing, aka Mr. Fingers, what he was doing was not what Marshall Jefferson was doing, was not doing what what Joe Smooth and all those other cats were doing. Larry came from a completely different spectrum, and then it just evolved from there. And after Larry, a short time after Larry, Pierre came in, and they did the whole Acid House completely by accident. So yeah, everyone had their own style, their own interpretation, how everything sounded, and boom, But yeah, it started with Jesse.
Yeah.
Those are the roots of Deep House Garage. Yep, yeah.
Modern Romance. What's up, brother? Long time, man.
Hey, go to sleep, Modern.
It's past your bedtime.
Past your
what are you doing?
bedtime. Go to
sleep. You missed a lot, dog.
You missed everything, fool. What are you talking about? You missed it all.
We had Juanito jump on. We had the whole we figured out where Hard House came from, and all that good stuff, bro. You missed everything.
Yeah, he'll be in Vegas tomorrow. I think he's going to EDC.
Oh, EDC?
I think he's going there. Yeah, because he said he'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah, we're gonna have an event actually on the that Saturday here in Vegas. So if you didn't get your wristband or tickets, or you only got one day, come and hang out with us on Saturday. We're gonna do an all vinyl set in room 1 and a digital set in room 2. So
is Cactus Cooler playing?
Cactus Cooler's always playing when there's vinyl, brother. If there's
Am I
vinyl,
gonna have to go over there? Am I gonna have to go over there and count on his mustache?
Yeah, man. Hey, I mean, I'll be honest with you. When you come to Vegas, dude, I'll make sure you guys get the proper introduction, bro, and you guys fucking chop it up, man. He's a character, man. I love him to death.
He was on one tonight.
Yeah?
He was on one
He's
tonight.
always on one, bro. He gets on. He's always on one, man. Cactus Cooler, Cactus Chair, the homie. Big shout outs. Yeah, he'll be on the vinyl room. I have a spot with 2 nights every month. The first one is the Thursday, which we call it the Households, and it's just open decks, house music night. All the kids that want to come in and do their thing. And then on Saturdays we have the third Saturday we do our event, and we'll have 2 rooms. Normally we'll have like a techno room and a house room, but the guy that runs the techno room, DJ Hardcore, will be at EDC. So I took over and I said, I'm doing, the whole 9 yards of house music because I'm the house guy. I'll do inside we'll do all vinyl, and outside we'll do all digital. So we have the old school guys inside and the new cats outside playing their music. We actually have DJ Pace from Southern California joining us, driving all the way from California, coming and hang out, man. So we always do that stuff whenever you guys are in Vegas. First Thursday of the month, come on down. 30-minute sets, open decks, and we have the board, and we have turntables, so you guys could throw in whatever you want. And it's been fun, man. I like it because we have a bunch of really cool different styles and different younger kids coming in and like really soaking in what us old guys are playing, and vice versa. So it works, man. Maserati
And this is
Matt.
at Ninja Karaoke, right?
Yeah, that spot right now for me is where we're doing all our things. Yeah, Ninja Karaoke, right there in the Arts District.
Dude, Cactus Cooler is still asking me where are my records.
Is he still on?
No, these are earlier comments.
Yeah, man, he was just trying to get under your skin, dude. You know how he is, man. Maserati
Did I ever play Hard House? No.
Yeah, that's why it worked. That's why I think today's show worked, because it was a guy that has nothing to do with Hard House, doesn't care about Hard House, actually did a show finding the roots of Hard House. You know what I mean? It was great. It was great.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, Modern.
Yeah,
If you we open at 8:00, bro. If you are in the spot, hit me up. We're in the Arts District. Before you guys take off to EDC or whatever, hit me up, come through, and just chill, chop it up, check out the spot, man. It's a cool spot. Got a big open area in the back, and then we have an inside room as well where we have the digital, man.
Hey, check this out.
Was it the record you were looking for?
No, I'm just like, this is just for you old school cats. Back in the day, obviously before cell phones or anything like that, when we would meet people, girls or whatever, we would write their numbers, especially DJs, on the actual record, on the cover.
Okay.
And here's a good example.
Nice.
So, where'd it go? Put the numbers right there. This is a promo. This is, speaking of Chicago, this is IHR Records. Okay. Not a Hard House record, though. But I was just, the record that I was looking for was an old Groove Nation Records. It was a double pack, and it was a pink vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was looking for that.
Oh.
But yeah. But anyway,
yeah. For you guys out there in Cali, always, dude, you guys make to Vegas. Matter of fact, tomorrow I will have Stamina Jones all the way from New York. We got a chance to meet him about 2 years ago. He's literally coming into Vegas, hanging out with this fams up there. And he hit me up. He's like, I'm in Vegas. I brought my shit. I want to do some street DJing. So any of you guys ever come to Vegas and we might not have an event that night, you guys still want to go hit the streets, let me know. I have the setup, and we'll go do some street shit, man. Take it back to the old school days. Or, if not, what I'm saying, first Thursday or third Saturdays of every month, we got Ninja Karaoke. Let me know, and I'll promote the shit out of you guys and get you guys out here. Or if you guys just want to go hit the streets and do some DJing in the streets, man, that's always fun. We do that too. That's one thing that I want to make sure you guys are comfy when you guys come. Yeah, the taco stand, love that place. I was just there Mother's Day.
Check this out. So there's a stack here that I have for the vinyl gig that I got. So these are all Chicago stuff. So GU, I know Jeff and Matt know what GU is, okay? So GU is basically Glen Underground. DJ Pope, this is Casual Records. And then DJ, this is another one, Big, what is it? Big Ed. That's another one. Yeah, you guys should know this. Casual. But I'm just surprised that Juanito, the name Green Velvet, didn't ring a bell. I'm sure if I would have said Cashmere, he probably would have known.
Oh, wait, when you said that, he did,
because Cashmere is Green Velvet, and Cashmere, Brighter Days is under Cashmere and not Green Velvet, So maybe that's why he probably wouldn't. That's why the name Green Velvet didn't ring a bell to him.
Thank you, Matt.
But
appreciate that, brother.
But yeah,
and
so
I mean, True Modern Romance says that true story. I think Armand van Helden started Hard House, and we actually talked about that.
We did talk about that, and he might have, and if he did, it's the New York Hard House, not what we're talking about. Okay. He, at least to my knowledge, from what I know, he was never the face of Hard House, the New York Hard House. It was more like Junior Vasquez, Danny Tenegla, Victor Calderon. There was another cat too that was definitely a huge impact of the New York Hard House. Yes. The guy that ran Club 69. What's his name? And he recently passed away. I think he passed away like maybe 5 years ago. His name is Peter, and his last name is hard to pronounce. It's like Rufferger. Anyway, he's behind the whole Club 69 thing. So those guys, among a few others, especially Junior Vasquez, they were the face of the New York Hard House. Again, to my knowledge, Armand was never part of that group. But yeah, I would definitely say Armand is definitely a pioneer of that New York Hard House.
I would love to chop it up with him. That's one of the guys I would love to chop up with. Yeah, good luck, right? You never know. You never know, though. I do it, and no.
You know what? Check this out. You know, it's one of those things that when you plan, nothing happens. But when you don't plan, that's where opportunity is. 2 years ago, was it 2 years ago? I think, no, last year? No, 2 years, not this last one, but the one before. I was at Day Trip. I usually go to the Day Trip, the one at the Queen Mary. Okay. And I go to I'm at the Day Trip, and I'm listening to, who was the DJ? I think it was Mark Knight. Was it Mark Knight or Sam Divine? One of those two. So I'm listening, and the way the stage was set up at that particular Day Trip, they had the big stage where the DJ booth is, and there was really nobody there. And right behind the DJ booth was like another stage that was just a little bit elevated, and that's where we were all hang out. So I'm standing there checking out, I think it was Mark Knight. And guess who stands next to me? Literally, like right next to me is MK, Mark Kitchen, right? I'm chopping it up with him, all right? For like maybe 10 minutes. MK takes off. Dude, not 5 minutes go by, and Armand van Helden stands right next to me, okay? And he's literally standing next to me because he closed out that particular day trip. MK didn't play. I don't even know why he was there. Or did he play? I don't think he played. Anyway, if he did play, he didn't play that day because I was only there on Sunday. He might have played Saturday. But anyway, Armand closed it out, and he's standing there like literally next to me. Nobody was bugging him. Nobody was talking to him. It was just me and him checking out Mark Knight. I could have asked him 10,000 questions right there. You know what I mean? He was standing next to me for like maybe 20, 25 minutes. You know what I mean?
He looked at you and was like, I love the way you play Hard House.
I'm telling you, when we plan for something, nothing happens. And when you least plan for shit, that's when the opportunity happens. You know what I mean?
This whole thing with Sessions, like I would have never in my wildest dreams would have imagined talking to Juanito, Tony B, Matt Johnson, Modern Romance, Michael Trans, AJ Mora. These are all names that we heard growing up, you know, from the scene or whenever. never in my wildest dreams would be able to call them friends, homies or whatever. Never, and here we are, 5 years into RebelDaze, into sessions, which was May 5th, our 5th year, but we haven't been doing sessions. I'm sitting here chopping it up with you, watching your videos from like the 90s, bro, when you told that girl you wanted to marry her or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are crazy times. These are crazy times, bro. Yeah, yeah. And, now I sit back and I'm successful because I got the opportunity to chop it up with all you guys. And I'm super happy about it. And that's why, for me, I feel like I'm invincible. Like, I could say, you know what? Yes, I reached out to Vision. I reached out to Bad Boy Bill. I reached out to Irene. It is what it is. But there's also so many other DJs out there that it was just not them. You know what I mean? And I'm very grateful and happy. That's why I feel like, hell, dude, I could probably talk to, Van Helden, or shit, let me reach out to Oakenfold, or, fucking Carl Cox. Like, yo, dog, I got this little show and shit that I do. Come and kick it. You know what I mean? So because of me being able to talk to all these legends has given me the balls to be like, I'm fucking shoot for the stars and see who I hit. You know what I mean? I love it. I love this. I love that it became this, and we're here,
I when I was doing film and TV, I interviewed Armand when he was at the Dome. It was like a 10-minute interview. This was 98 at the Dome. I interviewed him. And this was the Dome the second time around, not the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I don't know if you know, the Dome, when the Dome started, some years later it stopped and then it started up again.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the best Domes was the first time. The second times were good, but the first 3-4 years, I believe, were just insane. That's when you went till 8 a.m. You had breakfast at 6 a.m. There was a buffet of free food. You had breakfast at 6 a.m. and you kept going till like 8 or 9 in the morning. When it was a second time around, that it wasn't quite like that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so yeah, somebody mentioned that I remember. Yeah, I interviewed. This was for Freeman TV. I interviewed Armand.
Rick Pyrrhic says, reach out to Poogie, tell him that Suave sent you. He probably said, we're like, yo,
What?
Poogie Bear, yo, what's him? Tell me what's up.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I don't know what happened. I don't know if he wants to. I don't know if he wants to want nothing. Like I said, it's one of two things. Either A, he doesn't want to talk about Hard House or whatever he did before in the past for whatever reason, because there are a lot of people like that.
Yes. Okay. Yes, there is. Yes.
There are a lot of people like that.
I agree.
Or for whatever reason, he just doesn't want to talk to me about it. Mm-hmm. So it's one of the two.
What'd you do to Poogie?
I don't know what I did to Poogie.
The fuck you doing, bro? It took us a month to do a show because you kept fighting on Instagram. They kept kicking your ass out. What you do to Poogie, bro?
I don't know what I did to Poogie, man.
What'd you do
the
to
last
Poogie,
time
bro?
I saw him, the last time I saw Poogie was at this event that are you familiar with DJ Cazell?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I actually interviewed him too.
You interviewed? Okay. Yeah. So DJ Cazell, like some odd years ago, he did an event. It was supposed to be like a hard house event, but he had a house room, and then me and AJ Mora and some other cats were there. And anyway, so Poogie Bear was one of the DJs, and he had the Poogie Bear hat, the whole mask, the whole hat thing,
mm-hmm.
The whole head. Anyway, so that was the last time I saw him. That was the last time I saw him. But I have no idea. I'm hoping it's not personal. I'm hoping it's just that he just doesn't want to talk to people about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hear it all the time.
Whatever.
I always reach out to people, and sometimes I don't want to talk about it. All right, cool. Like I said, sometimes they probably think that this page is one of those, hot take pages and trying to get them to say something. I really just want information about history because I'm a history nut, and the more I learn, the better. And today I got a shitload of fucking good knowledge to know and have, man. I love it, and everybody had a great time doing it. Yeah, man.
Cool. All right, well, we'll see what happens when I come up with another topic.
Yeah, man. I mean, shit.
Matt goes, I don't give a fuck. What is he doesn't give a fuck about?
Maserati Matt doesn't give a fuck about anything. He's our Chuck Norris, bro. From now on, Matt Johnson is our Chuck Norris, dude.
So
the good old
Modern Romance is already putting it out there that he's planning his 50th birthday this December.
Oh man, where at though? That's the question. Where at though?
I think I know where it's going to be at. Most likely. Okay, most likely. I'm just going to say it's in Uptown Whittier. That's all I'm going to say. And it's not Sage. Okay. Most likely it might be there. Yeah. See those? So there
Whittier.
it is. So it's going to be in Uptown Whittier.
The 50?
But it's not going to be at Sage.
I guess. I mean, I'm due for a California trip. I haven't had one this year with the guys, and we got to get out there. We got to go do.
Well, look, if you're gonna come down, I'll tell you this: if you're gonna come down in December for Honor's birthday, which you should also. Yeah, there it is. Oh no, that's Rick saying.
Yeah.
No, Rick is not at Sage.
Or muchas
Definitely
gracias.
not at Sage. But if you go to Honor's thing, you're definitely gonna have to go to my thing because next year I'm planning not just my birthday party, but I'm planning a Soul City reunion party.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So you better come down to that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I gotta get to it, man. I know a lot of people have been like, yo, you guys gotta come through and check out, all the stuff, the fun stuff. I got House Issues hit me up. They're doing their stuff here soon, and all the other crews and Too Dope and all them, and they always tell me, hey, you guys gotta come to Vegas, you gotta come to LA, you gotta come to LA. Yeah, I gotta Suave 60th birthday.
Oh,
fucking Rick.
65th. 65th. Get it right. Hey, speaking of Too Dope, I'm surprised that fool didn't pop up.
Yeah.
Too Dope always pops up.
Yeah. Wedding reception too. Wedding reception too. Man.
Fucking modern. All right, guys, I gotta head on out now. So I gotta go Mimi's. I gotta go feed my 18 illegitimate children. Gotta go take care of my Sanchez. So
no Hard House on my birthday. The hate is so bad, bro, for Hard House. Jesus, man. I love it. It's always gonna be a half soft spot. But yeah, man, we gotta do that. And then when I hit the mega bucks, I gotta recreate For the Love of House, man, because it was grand, and we gotta probably do it in Cali this time. We ain't gonna do it in Vegas. We'll go do it in Cali. Nobody wants to come to Vegas anymore, bro. It's empty over here. Oh, that's what they say. Bullshit. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for taking a part of your day to come and chill here with us at RebelDaze 702 Sessions. DJ Suave with another banger. We had a fucking blast. Thank you, everybody. Modern Romance, Matt Johnson, Juanito, Tony B, Jose to Hype, Purex. And if I didn't mention you guys, number love for you guys. Thank you so much, Jeff, everybody. Thank you guys. Have a great night, and I will see you guys on the next one. Later.